Hello, folks. Can anybody hear me? I should also get the Twitch chat up. I think I'm dual streaming to there. Let's see here. Oh, I'm not logged in apparently. Oh, I missed that sound. Hello, thank you for the follow or whatever that was. Alright, oh, I got a Twitch verification code here. Let's get this up and running. Sorry guys, this is kind of a last minute stream. I wasn't sure if I was going to have the energy to do this today, but yeah, we're gonna make it work. Let me find Twitch chat. I know most of you guys are in YouTube, but let's see here. Where in the heck is that? Manage stream. Here we go. Alright, let's see if I can do a pop out of this guy. Pop out chat. Ta-da. I'll do the same on YouTube. Can you guys hear me all right? How's the sound? How's the sound volume? The sound and quality. Sound, what am I can't use words today. Maybe it's not a good idea to stream tonight. Sound quality and volume is what I'm trying to say. How is it? My goal tonight is to avoid doing any story stuff because I don't want to spoil for you guys since you haven't had much time with it. But thought it'd be a good idea to show you guys some mechanics. Talk about bugs. Sounding good. Thank you, Surik. But yeah, I want to talk about chapter 3, some of the new mechanics, and then you guys can tell me about all the bugs that are plaguing you, and hopefully we can get them on the short list for fixing. Because inevitably, in a giant release like this, there's stuff that sneaks through the cracks, and there's some stuff that didn't sneak through the cracks. We just ran out of time to try and solve. So we can talk about all that in a minute. So let's load up the game here. Basically what I'm going to do is talk about the stuff that I can that doesn't have story involved, and then I'll show you guys some of the basic stuff like how to get started from an existing save. So we're going to load up one of my chapter 2 Let's Plays that was finished, so this should be what a lot of you guys are coming into, although you can start new if you want, obviously. But we did design it. In fact, this is one of the test saves we kept passing around on the team, saying if we can't get the quest working with this, then we have to work harder, because we wanted to make sure that you guys could load up your old saves and just keep going. I saw Elder Maxon in the trailer. Is there any compatibility with Face Maxon yet? I have no idea. We tried to. Oh, there it is. So you can see if you had.
We need you back at HQ.
If you had a. Okay, so this is a new patch. So this is on. I'm on patch 300A now. Now flickering lights will start immediately. So what would happen before is there was a bunch of background code that had to run. This is probably what a lot of you guys experienced, and I think some people were starting the mod with console commands. But I changed it in the 300A, so now the startup code, there's a lot of new stuff in the back end of 300 that had to happen, where we had to like update all your settlements. And prior, that was running before the attempt to start up Chapter 3. So now if you're loading up with a Chapter 2 finished save, where you've done all the content in it, you've done all the side quests from Jake and everything, then you should get immediately. As soon as you're out in the Commonwealth in the exterior world, you should get a call from Aiden. So hopefully that'll make for less confusion when you boot up. Because I know for some folks, the code that was started up on 3.0 could take like 10-15 minutes to run, and it would feel very, very broken.
I'll be right there.
All right, so I'm gonna try and like heavily engage with chat today. Not gonna, because we're not focusing on story stuff today. In fact, like that's as far as you're gonna see me do story. Was just like answering that because I wanted to make sure you guys could see like that the what you should expect for the quest to start up. Because I think that's pretty much the #1 thing we were getting is that the mod wouldn't start. So 300A will help with that. The second most common reported thing we were getting right off the bat is if you played through the quest Resurgence. And I'm not going to talk about what happens, but you get to a point and it fades to black, and then it just stays black forever. We had finally figured out how to do our own Bink video files, and we were going to put this. We had this little tiny video. It wasn't much. It wasn't like a big fancy cutscene video or anything. And it turns out that while it worked in testing, because it works great from a loose files, it does not work once we archive it and we put it in the BA2. So if you ran into that black screen bug where you're just stuck after the midway point of that quest, That should be resolved in 300A because we just got rid of that little video, unfortunately. Let's see here. So let's scroll back up. And as far as Dova Dude, you mentioned the face maxing. So we tried to, as much as possible, when we did vanilla NPCs, especially unique ones, is we cloned the NPC, but we templated to the original. So the clone was so that we wouldn't break any of your vanilla quests. Excuse me, but the templating was so that it would still copy whatever data was set on the base record. So in theory, when you run into Maxon in our quest line, if you do, there's no guarantee. That's something else we'll talk about today about the trailer, because I think I saw a handful of comments on the trailer being like, "Oh, that's so dumb that Institute and Brotherhood team up," and we can talk about that kind of stuff. But the trailer was really, that whole sequence was like representative of the fact that your choices matter and you can ally with who you want and whatnot. So we were just like, in fact, in the original draft of the trailer, the Institute was going to be working with the Gunners, and we're like, that's going to feel too much like that's the whole storyline, which is not it. So it's more about you have a lot of player choice. That was what we were trying to make sure you guys felt. Oscar Fry, so can we turn Vault 111 into an ICBM silo to use against the Gunners? I'm not going to talk about any story stuff. I will just say that that is one of the features we're going to show today, is the fact that you can claim virtually any location in the game. In fact, probably some locations need to be blocked out still. Like, I'm betting you can capture Diamond City right now, and that was not intended. So there's going to be some settlements we will block, or some areas we will block out from you being able to capture. But right now it's probably pretty open. We got to learn a lot of stuff, and I know there's some that are problematic. Like right now, Lexington technically is made up of like 5 sub-locations, and so the testers kept running into a variety of issues where they would capture like the area by the apartments or the area by the Super Duper Mart, and it would cause different things to happen. So we got to work on that. But so yeah, we'll start going over some of that stuff. I just want to keep up with all these questions here real quick. Lennon, have you ever heard of Wasteland 3? I've heard of it, but I've never played the Wasteland series. By the way, everybody, sorry, I'm a little rusty. I haven't streamed in like a month. This used to be a weekly thing for me, but even then, I'm not great at it, as the regulars will attest to. I'm kind of a rookie still. Never learned the ways of streaming. I just kind of wing it. So get prepared for lots of rambling and streamer rookie mistakes, despite the fact that I've been doing this for years now. So let's see, looking at the chat. What I was starting to go see, this is the rambling and mistakes I was talking about. The way this tends to work is once I get into messing around with gameplay stuff, so if I start demoing things, then I'll switch back to chat and look at it, and I tend to just look at the ones that have King Gath highlighted, so at King Gath or plus King Gath or whatever it is in, I think it's at King Gath, right? It's been too long, I can't remember. I think it's just you at King Gath in your message, just so it highlights for me. Let's see, Shirako, why was the pre-populate the world feature not able to ship with the chapter? So it basically works, and technically, like some of the coders among you who decompile will figure out how to trigger it from. Oh, that was weird that popped. We'll figure out how to trigger it because it's in there. The code's all in, but it was a little bit. There's a few problems with it. Some jank we got to work out, and also the way that we introduce it, there was a potential for people playing SS2 for the first time to use it, and thank you for the subscribe vibe. And if you use it in your first playthrough, it's going to be very confusing because there's all sorts of story notes talking about ASAM sensors and Jake trying to introduce them to the world. And when you use the pre-build system or the pre-populate the world, basically it's like a whole Commonwealth had access to ASAM sensors and we're using them. So it kind of like doesn't make sense for the story. So it really is meant for subsequent playthroughs, but we don't have the ability to like enforce a new game plus. So our way of kind of pseudo enforcing it is we just delayed it. That'll give us time to polish up that feature into a big patch, add a little more flourishes to it, and then we'll release that. And we will likely release it as like a ESL plugin, like use this ESL to enable it. That way we don't have to worry about people on their first playthrough accidentally messing with that system and having a bad time. Superb Legend, I have the ROTC 3-in-1. Will downloading some settlements to mess everything up as a separate quest mod? Yeah, you cannot use this together with the old 3-in-1. That is Sim Settlements 1. That is a totally different set of mods. It is very systems based, where this is very story based. We have, if you want to play SS2 and you were using SS1, you need to start a new save. You cannot remove one and play the other. Jack Nelson, this is available on Xbox now. it does take up all of your space. Like I tested it on my Xbox, and if you install Workshop Framework, HUD Framework, and all 3 chapters of Sim Settlements 2, you will have 114 megabytes left for other mods. So left you a tiny little bit of space to get your utility mods in. But if you're going to do the story on Xbox, you should anticipate like that's your whole playthrough. One day I will go back and make a slimmed down version of SS2 where it's just the mechanics, and that will probably be like 700 or 800 megabytes, but that's probably going to be a year or 2 away still, because I need to get all of the code in a good situation, like with all the bugs worked out and all our final feature list before I mess with that, because I don't want to have to maintain 2 code bases. Like that will be a nightmare. Let's see here. Whoa. I just chat jumped, because that's what it does on YouTube. All right, let's see here. Mouse, what happens if we killed Maxim with the Minutemen? That's totally okay. Our whole quest line is designed around you doing whatever you want in the vanilla quests. We do not force you to do anything. You can ignore those quests, you can do them, you can complete them in any way, and we react to them accordingly. So this is part of the reason that Chapter 3 took about 7 months longer than Chapter 2, is there's so many iterations. Like I think, I don't know if Sag's watching, but we did something, he did the permutations on it, and it's something like right now, there's like 40,000 possible combinations of events that can happen in one of our quests, because we respond to so many things, and it's going to expand as we start patching, because we actually have some post-launch content planned. So if you killed Maxon, great. If you killed Father, great. If you killed the Railroad, great. You're covered no matter what you want to do. So your existing saves will be fine. Let's see here. Choo-choo, how long until we can expect a Builder's Toolkit update thing like soldier classes? So I think that will probably be higher priority than the HQ stuff was, because it's easier. And like when we were dealing with HQ, one of the reasons that it still hasn't been finished is HQ, at the time when we launched, it was so complicated, I still didn't even fully understand it. So it was really hard to write the tutorials, and then we got deep into dev on Chapter 3. But now the pacing of Chapter 3 is going to be, of post-launch, can be a lot slower than Chapter 2, because we don't have the pressure anymore of like, hey, some of our key voice actors might disappear on us. So like time pressure kind of goes away, and now with Starfield coming out, we know that, we're going to lose a large swath of audience. We're going to move on to the next best thing. But those of you guys who are like hardcore, you're a Wastelander for life or a Sim Settler for life, like we can go slow and steady and get the stuff out that we need. So there's not going to be as much pressure on me to constantly be patching and stuff. So I can definitely slow down and do Builder's Toolkit type of stuff now. The soldier stuff in particular, and that's one of the things we'll talk about today. That is going to get an overhaul. That's going to be our first big patch, and that will be as soon as we settle down from bug fixes. I couldn't tell you what the timeline is going to be, because one thing I will say is all of us on the team, like, we busted our asses for the last couple of months, and like many of us like basically had this as a second full-time job. So everybody's ready for a break over here. So when Starfield comes out, we're all gonna just go on the download, and like I will do hot fixes, but other than that, you guys aren't gonna hear from us for a couple of weeks. So if we're able to get the showstoppers, as we're calling them, done in the next couple of weeks, then I'm going to pivot over to working on soldier stuff. And while I'm doing that, I will document it, because our team needs it. So we had an interesting thing come up during development. We have this system, and actually let's go ahead and start showing that, and then I'll pin chat here, and we'll double back, because we need to start showing off some mechanics here. You guys don't know, let's listen to me ramble about dev stories. So let's show off some stuff you guys can do. So right now I'm in a Chapter 2 completed save. This is, I have the story started for Chapter 3, but we're not going to mess with it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys that all of the mechanics that are included in Chapter 3 are actually included in the base mod. So you actually don't have to do any story content. You can immediately gain access to this stuff through the cheat holotape. So I'm going to show you guys where that is. And it has a pseudo progression tree that will unlock naturally as you play. It needs to be smoothed out a bit. There's definitely going to be some big balance patches and smoothing out patches, and but I want to show you guys this stuff. So if I would highly recommend that all of you play through the story first. Not only did the writers, voice actors do a killer job, and you're going to enjoy yourself, but you'll get introduced to all this stuff I'm about to show you more gradually, and you'll be taught how it works on the way. But I'm going to show you guys that the point of putting this all in here was that in subsequent playthroughs, if you want to take all of those war mechanics and make them the primary part of your entire playthrough, not just the end game, you will have that option. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit here. So we're going to go ahead and go unlock all tools. Yes, do it. And that will give us access to the war mechanics. Some of them will unlock as we play through them. So a lot like the plots will start unlocking, the classes will start unlocking as you play. Some of the war stuff unlocks as you play too. So we're going to go ahead and go into build mode here, and we are going to go to furniture, and we're going to build ourselves a war planner's desk. So a war planner's desk, for those of you Conqueror fans, you recognize this thing. This basically is your when you put this down, this signifies that you're looking to turn this settlement into what we call an outpost. And an outpost's focus is on housing soldiers instead of on making an economy. So some things about outposts. One is by default, and you can turn these options off. There are a lot of holotape options for the new mechanics. So if I say something you don't like, I promise you somebody on the testing team said the same thing, and I made a turn off feature for it. So almost everything I show you right now, you're going to be able to toggle on and off. So if you don't like the default state, don't worry about it. And also you can see right now I am in full complex resource mode, which is why I have the monster amount of different resources on the right hand side of my screen. That most of you probably have way less than that, and don't worry, yours is not going to suddenly get all these new icons. That is not a chapter 3 feature. That is me playing in hardcore mode. I believe in this save I was playing on city builder mode, the default settings, and then during the final stream of this character, we were messing around with settings, and that's the save I'm running on. So it has full complexity on right now. All right, so if we build our war planner's desk, it's going to ask us if we want to go to war. And so to start off, what you do is you say, yes, go to war. And then this first settlement gets turned into an outpost, and it'll actually get made, it should be made your command post. Let's see, I don't know if that might happen that might be one of the features that happens after you unlock in part of the story. So during our story and some of the story mechanics, you unlock the ability to establish a command post and a capital city. So basically all those are kind of slight variations of a normal settlement and a outpost. So going back to the outpost, the point is for it to be a place that houses soldiers. And so one of the rules that's enforced by default, okay, yeah, see, your first one will get converted into the command post after it conditions over. So you can read right here some of the stuff that's going to happen. So the outposts and vassals and your settlements, actually should say your settlements too, will automatically establish network connections. So that means you basically get caravan services for free in a sense. So and there's more to caravan services than just connecting settlements. If you're a longtime SS2 player, you know about the beacons and the fact that they come and travel. But just note that the default network connection, the ability to have the supply lines, once the conversion finishes, it's still going, it'll automatically connect up all of my other outposts and vassals so that they can be on the network together with the settlements in my empire. And the goal there is we want JB Delosa, thank you for subscribe. So the goal there is to get it so that you're again focused on the war mechanics. So the other part of that happens is any of your municipal and martial plots will be converted over to martial. So all your commercial, your agricultural, your industrial will be turned into martial plots in a settlement that you switch over. So it should be happening right now silently. I don't know how many I have of those types or if they already converted. Let's start looking around here, see if we can figure that out. Recreational and residential are fine, but basically the goal is to get you to not think about economy inside of a settlement that you convert to an outpost. Now your goal is to focus on your soldiers. Part of the reason we did that is because we didn't want you overwhelmed with mechanics to think about in any given settlement, because it's already a lot. Anybody who's played a lot of SS2 knows that there's a lot to think about. Yeah, and it looks like the settlement was basically had almost no anything but residential. Let's see. So some of these plots right here, these were agricultural. They're starting to get converted over to martial. You can turn this feature off. Like I said, you can turn off most features. So all these agricultural plots are getting converted over to martial. If we had any commercial or industrial, they'd be doing the same thing. So those are going to slowly convert over. To make this more interesting, we have 6 new martial classes, which we will stumble upon as we go. And those are going to give you various bonuses for your soldiers. So let's talk soldiers. So we need to make this outpost proper by getting some soldiers in it. So,
oh yeah!
Jason Lokrantz, thank you for the donation. Oh, I can't read the damn super chat. It's too small on my screen. Hold on just a second. Let me fix that. Just a second. Jonathan Chokers, thank you for the subscribe. Let's see. Jason says, congrats on the Chapter 3 launch and welcome back to streaming. Yeah, it's good to be back. I missed it. Okay, so we need to get some soldiers. So one of the... BBL Latte, thanks for the subscribe. One of the things that is going to come in a future update is quality of life stuff. So quality of life tends to be bottom of the list for us when we're starting out, because while the testers will give us a lot of requests to be like, oh, it'd be cool if we could, this would be easier for us if we could do this. Ultimately, the bug fixing takes priority. And then once everybody has access to it, you guys will kind of join the chorus of what the testers were suggesting for quality of life. But one of the quality of life improvements we have planned will be mass recruitment, because right now you got to do it on an individual soldier level. So it's a lot like HQ in that regard. In fact, you can use the same recruitment clipboard that you had from HQ. It adds a new dialogue option. So we can go around to any of our settlers here and talk to them.
Up to a creature twice your size? Ha! That's no joke.
Thanks, Wiseman. And you can see Wiseman has a new job assigned to there, a new icon. That is the recruitment officer. He's got the new name as well. Rootman, thank you for the subscribe. So recruitment officer basically means you can recruit more soldiers per day. So because we want you focusing on soldiers in there, we give you the ability to rapidly recruit people. Again, just the same way in a settlement where you can just build whatever you want as quickly as you want, we want you to be able to recruit soldiers very quickly so that you're not feeling like you're just waiting, because in the base game, waiting around for settlers to come can be exhausting. You sleep a bunch of times, you hope your happiness is high enough, maybe your settlements are already at max. This kind of gives you a bypass for that. You can get soldiers very, very quickly. And the recruitment officer makes it so you can get one additional per day. And that is per level of the plot. So a level 3 recruitment plot can get you 3 extra soldiers per day. So you can very quickly recruit up an army. But we can also just conscript. So if we go up and talk, let's see if Wiseman is going to let me do it. There we go. And you will get the dialogue tree that you're used to from working with HQ if you've played through Chapter 2. But the new option at the top is conscript.
We need your help.
And he'll go ahead and, I don't know if he'll do the salute when they're sitting, but basically if they're standing up, they'll salute you. They'll say some sort of, got it, yep, sure. And they'll join your army. And shortly after, they'll be a soldier. So you can see they now have a managed soldier menu. And the job title, so previously it said recruitment officer, gets changed to their role. So the role of a soldier has to do with how they rank to combat. We'll get into that later. I'm not going to... that'll make more sense when you understand the rest of the mechanics. It's overdue. Thank you for the subscribe. So basically, we've got our first soldier here. So then if we come over to here to this worker...
Complaining a bit about the bed situation.
Thanks, worker. I appreciate you. But now we need you to join us. All right.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. So we're going to go around and we're going to conscript all of these folks here.
I know you're in a tough situation here, but lives are at stake.
And you don't have to listen to the dialogue. You can skip right through it and it'll still work. But basically our goal right now is to get at least 5 soldiers.
This farm will carry on.
All right, so quartermaster. Here's our first, another new job type we have. That means Jones here is working at an armory. And an armory will automatically equip your soldiers with gear if you have enough resources. By the way, if you're just joining the stream, or if you joined after I mentioned it, this is an impromptu thing. I do not have like a Starfield Direct level presentation here. This is very much just me shooting from the hip, trying to remember all the different mechanics and showing off to you guys, because I assumed I was going to be way too tired tonight to stream. All right, so this person, their icon, they're working a watchtower, which I think is going to be...
Can I ask you something?
the new caravan services. So the watchtower, the most important role it has is it shares surplus defense between your settlements that have watchtowers. Now, the reason that that's going to be huge is because soldiers, thank you Moosefee for the subscribe, soldiers give defense automatically. So if we were to pop into workshop mode here and we highlight over them, you can see that Daedra here produces 10 defense just by existing. So not even assigned to a martial plot. Your soldiers just provide passive defense to your empire. And so when you start setting up watchtowers, you can basically arrange a new type of empire design where you can have settlements that have virtually no defense of their own, and they just rely on the nearby outposts to provide defense via soldiers. So it will allow you to kind of put up effectively one martial plot in some of your settlements with a watchtower and rely on your outposts to handle all of the defense for them. So it can create some new space for new designs or new gameplay patterns. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get Holly here.
Never known a raider to show mercy.
We're going to go ahead and recruit everybody. So it looks like Holly's still assigned to food somewhere. It might be some vanilla food or something. All right, so Holly ended up with the warrior role, and the roles will make more sense as we go. The warrior role is who you bring with you to combat, effectively. Those become your buddies in assaults, as we call them, which are when you bring a group of guys, a group of soldiers with you to take something. And that's a short explanation of it. There's more to it than that. Oh, cool. We got some nice clipping over here.
Can I ask you something? I know you're in a tough
now we only need 5 to do an assault, but I'm grabbing some extras because what you'll find with the roles is that only the warriors will come with you by default. Everybody else wants to hang around and work their plots.
The only way to ensure the safety of the
And the reason we did that is when we got another warrior. So when you go on an assault, which we'll do one shortly, it will bring along your warriors, and those guys are going to end up defending the position you take, which means that any plots they were assigned to will get unassigned because they're going to leave this settlement and come to the new place you go after. So one of the reasons we have the roles is so that you can say, hey, I don't want to ever lose the benefit of this plot. I want, I need this armory here forever, or I need this watchtower here forever. I do not want my guys to leave. So you can give them the support role or the guard role. Guard and support are very similar in the sense that they won't come with you on assaults. But the difference is that guards will basically fight to the death. Well, actually, that's not true anymore because we got rid of the death mechanic by default. So I will say they will fight to prevent enemies from taking over your settlements. So if you get attacked, say if the gunners come in here and attack, you guys saw in chapter 2 we had the system where the gunners would come and attack your settlements, and in that there wasn't really any penalty. If you just ignored them, it would work out fine. Like you would come back and you just kill all the gunners and you're fine. Now if you have a settlement with no guards or warriors in it, the gunners will just come and take it, and they will own it, and then you'll have to fight them to earn it back. And while they own it, you don't have access to any of the resources that it has in storage. You don't get any of its benefits or anything. So it's a much more harsh penalty, and you have guards to help you prevent that. So support and guards are similar in that way, only that guards will help defend your settlement from invasion, whereas support will not. Now you can kind of skirt the rules a little bit by like assigning people to your various plots and making them guards, and there's no real penalty for that. That'll be one of those kind of things that we work out later, like in a balance pass. We'll try and figure out some stuff to plug some gameplay holes that had come up. Now in Conqueror, we enforced the roles, and we kind of like if you assigned a settler to a certain type of plot, they were forced to have a certain role, but we wanted to give you a little more freedom in this. Thank you for the donation. I think I just missed one there. Hold on just a second. Lively super chats. Nice. I appreciate that. Hold on. Is that a second? Did I miss another one? Oh, okay, cool. All right. So we've got a handful of soldiers here. And one of the things I'm going to do is go ahead and convert more of these guys to warriors. So we got a warrior. We got a warrior. What do we got here? We got a support. So we're going to go into our manage soldier menu, and we're going to change his role. And we're going to make him a warrior as well. I just want to make sure I have enough warriors so we can go run an assault. And then a lot more of these mechanics and stuff will make sense once we start doing more than just recruiting people. So we're going to go over to our War Planner's desk here, and we're going to click on this little raid board. And just a reminder, one more time, that all this stuff is explained by characters, so you'll get an in-universe explanation when you play the Chapter 3 story. All right, so first thing comes up is we get the scouting perk. Now, this was something that was in Conqueror. And basically what this is as you get close to settlements, it will automatically mark them on your map without you needing to get all the way on top of them. And the reason that's valuable is when we go in here to start a new assault, the options for what we're going to attack are based on the map markers that are revealed. You don't have to have explored the location, but you have to at least know about the map marker. So one of the fun gameplay elements in this is actually doing scouting, going in as your character and role-playing that you're going to slowly sneak up on a location and get it marked so that you can come back to your base and assault it. Now, the scouting perk, as I just showed there, was basically the baby version of what we actually have now. That was the draft in our capabilities back when we did Conqueror, but we now have more knowledge, more power. We figured out some more stuff, which I'll show you shortly. But we're going to go ahead, just for the sake of showing this system. This is actually the system I anticipate you guys using the least, the desk. But this is an option for those of you who really like to play strategically. So we can go ahead and choose whether we want to establish another outpost. So that would be attacking a location with the intent of turning it into an outpost. Make a vassal. Vassals are basically, if you've played through Nuka World, you've heard the term vassal probably. I think they use the term in the quest or in the dialogue there, but basically a vassal will pay tribute to your empire in the form of, in our case, in the form of the new supply resources, which we haven't really talked about yet, but we'll get to those. And then we can capture territory, and territory is what we call any non-settlement location. So that's effectively any map marker in the game you can capture as a territory. So let's go ahead and do that. And now I don't know if it's going to find any valid targets or not. It might not. Yeah, it did. Okay, cool. So basically you can see all of the locations that are around here that I know about are up as options for us to capture. So we can basically just pick one of these locations and go attack it. So I'm actually not going to do this because I want to show you guys the better scouting system. So we're going to go over here and we're going to craft under tools binoculars. And we're also going to grab ourselves a flare gun and a bunch of flares. And you can see my character is filthy rich. Go ahead and grab all that. All right, so binoculars let us play Super Scout here. So we're going to go ahead and... actually, let's put that one on. Nope. Put that one on over here. Grab our binoculars. Binoculars made. And... Nope, didn't equip them. Binoculars made and animated by one Mr. Neher. And they show ammo up there. They have unlimited. So the way the binoculars work is if you highlight an enemy, they will get the recon scope marker on them. And they will also mark the location that NPC is in. You can actually mark enemies as well, and they get marked with a quest marker instead. And the benefit of that is if you're trying to keep track of like where everybody is and you want to be able to see them, so if you want to go around and mark all the friendlies, you can, and that will show up as an option. But you can also kind of play with that as a way to mark a location where you can't find the enemies or that doesn't have enemies yet. In some occasions we will dynamically spawn enemies when you go to do these assaults. So we're going to go ahead and find ourselves a location we want to attack here. And we'll start marking some targets. And the binoculars can shoot, and all that does is it clears whatever target you have set. So if you set a target, now this location, this is the worst one I could have chosen. This location, and there's a bunch of others in the game, they're improperly marked. So Bethesda missed some of the cells and didn't give them a location tag, and I think this is one of them, so this might not do anything. But you can see the recon scope comes up, and if the location were marked properly, it would have popped up as a in the corner it would have said like this area has been marked as a target. Now one of the things you'll see is we fixed the problem with the vanilla recon scope, which is the vanilla recon scope will make the enemies think that there's a hostile around. So you can actually do full stealth scouting while you're doing this, and you can mark all these targets and have them ready so that way when you actually decide to start up combat, you'll be able to know where all of your enemies are in advance. But we're going to try, I know some of the cells over here are marked correctly, so we're just trying to find somebody that happens to be in one of the marked cells. So we're going to go ahead and just mark everybody we can find. Hopefully my stealth is good enough to avoid triggering combat here. Finding all these raiders here. Maybe over here that there's a cell. If we don't get anybody over here marked, I'll pick a different location. So if you find any locations, this is one of the things I'm considering doing, is putting out a patch that just fixes up locations. It would just be, and it might be that something like the unofficial patch already does this, but I think that might be worth doing for this as a vanilla patch. I don't tend to like to do vanilla edits by default in the mod. There's one exception. We did find a location that Bethesda incorrectly marked, with the wrong location, and we did fix that, but that's like the exception to the rule. Let's see here. Do we have any? So if I were to right now fire the binoculars, I believe it clears all of my targets, so I'm not going to do that, but it would also clear the location if we had marked one. So let's see. I think there's a guy up here. Maybe this cell is marked over here. I think there's somebody in here, right? Nope. I am incorrect on that. I could have sworn there was somebody hanging out up here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just pick a different location because this one happens to be one of the few that that I know of that Bethesda didn't mark correctly. So let's go to, we could do Museum of Witchcraft or Hugo's Hole. All right. All right, we need somebody. Okay, so if we have a location, let's see if we can use Hugo's thing. I don't know if Hugo's is a valid location or not. Oh, well, I guess we'll go ahead and test the, if we fire the binoculars, there you go, it clears all the targets that we have marked. So let's try this location. Okay, so there's another way you can mark a target, and that is with the flare gun. So if you're standing in a location that's capturable, and you pull out the flare gun and you just aim it, don't fire it, you just aim it, you can see marked Dunwich Boar as a potential target. Okay, well now I regret clearing the thing because we finally found a way to do it. So it does look like the cells over here are correctly marked as Dunwich Boars, but most of the Dunwich Boars area is not marked. So now we've got Dunwich Boars marked as a location. So now we can go ahead and bring out our binoculars and start zapping people again. But basically, once you have a location marked, if you fire your flare gun and there is an outpost nearby, and we use the same ranges as always with other Sim Settlements 2 mechanics, so you vets will know exactly how long that is. For those of you who are not familiar with that, it is roughly the distance between Sanctuary and Lexington. So it's a pretty wide radius. I will say with the radius stuff, I know this has been a common complaint since we released SS2. We finally have a solution on the horizon. We've been working with Ono, one of our designers, and Lyra AST, who put out the settler management mod for SS2 to get our own custom map in. So we will eventually have a custom map interface where you'll be able to see those circles showing you the radius of different things, which is going to open up a lot of new options for us, because then we'll be able to do change the radius and not have everything just be the same for the sake of like making it simple. All right, so I've got some targets marked. We're going to go ahead and fire off our flare gun. So pop this up in the air, and we should get a couple of things should happen now. We should get an autosave. And we should get a return flare. Empire doesn't have enough warriors available. Okay, that was why I was going to get extra. So one of the things with the... All right, let's pop back over to... Pop back over to the slog. Because of auto assignment, the NPCs can end up getting assigned and losing their roles. So that's why I wanted to have extra, and I apparently didn't get enough extra. So I would recommend highly that you over recruit. Don't do what I just did and try and pull off assaults with 5. Just go crazy with them. So let's show you guys how to handle more recruitment. So if you go to the recruitment desk, if we go over here and go to the recruitment radio, we can schedule up to recruit soldiers. So we're already set up to recruit 2 automatically. So once you have an outpost, unlike with settlements, oh, Carl the Greaterist, thank you for the super chat. By default, you're in outpost, you will just recruit people every day as long as you have beds. So there's no happiness check, that doesn't matter. But soldiers, to recruit them, cost your settlement or your empire some caps. Now, most of you guys, if you've been playing for a while, have a boatload of caps in your settlements from all the taxes that have been collected. And prior to this, you didn't have a lot of uses for it unless you had maintenance costs turned on. So now you have a very strong use for that. You can bulk up your army. So by default, you have access to 1 unit type, and that is this civilian conscript. Actually, you might have 2 right away. Okay, yeah, you start out with the civilian conscript. Over time, you will start unlocking more unit types from different quest moments. Now, by default in Chapter 3, there's only a very small number that you have access to, but that is going to be one of the big things we patch fairly quickly, are going to be tons of new unit types for you to unlock, and that is also one of the things I anticipate getting a lot from add-on pack authors. We made it very easy to add new content into this system. To add new different units. So when we're talking about units, we're talking about things like power armor units, dogs, mole rats with bombs attached to their backs, super mutants, like basically anything you've come across in the game can potentially be a unit for your army, and you can recruit them. So for now, we're just gonna do civilians. This is for Conqueror fans. This is the equivalent of special units is what they used to be called. And you would have faction packs that would install more options for those. And now, instead, you always get to build whatever crazy ragtag army you want. You don't have to follow any type of faction pack. And the faction packs are replaced with very, very small additions. So somebody could do something as exotic as a faction pack, or they can do something very small, like just introduce some new units, or just some new gear types or new ranks, etc. Some very, very small little bits, so that way no one has to commit to this giant epic project, which is what faction packs were. Ark, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Somehow it looks like you have 2 people. I don't understand that. It looks like you have 2 icons. Maybe your super chat was just an icon. I don't know what's going on there. The UI for this is very strange. All right, so now we basically have, because we have a recruitment center, and I just queued up some units, but even if I hadn't queued up the units, it wouldn't matter. When it's just civilian conscripts, you don't actually have to do what I just did with the queue. I just wanted to show you guys that system. So if I had more options there, if I had other soldiers, other units unlocked, I could have queued up like some dogs or some power armor units if I had them unlocked. I could queue those up, and then those would get recruited instead of default soldiers. So we're going to go ahead and wait for 20. Actually, let's check our beds. So you need to have extra beds available. Oh, and we are short on beds. So we're going to just go ahead and build a bunch of beds, and they don't have to be residential plots. You can just go ahead and build whatever random beds you want. So, and you can cram them in. It doesn't matter. Again, the whole point here is to make this feel like you're not micromanaging a settlement. You are worrying about building a place for soldiers. And guess what? Soldiers are used to bunking up in pretty garbage quarters. So they will take it on the chin for God and country and you, the player. So let's go ahead and build up some beds here. They will sleep in bathrooms. They will sleep up on roofs. They don't care. All right, we're gonna get a bunch of extra just because I want to follow my own advice here and get a lot of extra soldiers. I want to make sure I have like 10 or 15 warriors before I go embarrass myself again firing up a flare. And you guys should do the same. If you try and test with the minimal, there's a very good chance that somebody got auto-assigned, or there can also be occasional just issues with calculations of how many there are. There's a lot of stuff we do in this game with some settlements that the engine does not want us to do, and so we actually have some tools to help with that. There's actually a tool in the holotape. If you find that your warrior count is unstable, you can actually force it to recalculate. Where else can we stick some beds in here? Sure, you can have one. You can sit outside of our, looks like a perception training room here. There's 14. Let's get up to 15, and then the empty rec plots actually count toward beds as well. So we actually have a lot more than 14 now, because the empty rec plots will count as a bed once they build for recruitments. All right, so now we've got lots of extra beds. So now we're going to go ahead and sit over here and wait 24 hours.
Like you full-time around here.
And now we should start. Oops. Go ahead and wait 24 hours. We should see some soldiers. I am going to pause here shortly and go catch up on all of chat. I wanted to get one assault going, because I think that and capturing a territory, because I think that opens up, once you guys see that, really opens up the door to discuss a lot of the mechanics more in depth without it being so abstract and just me rambling. You'll actually have something visual to reference. All right, while I'm waiting for this, Nick Carter, will the interior nav cut fix eventually be merged into Workshop Framework? We attempted to do that, but it turned out to be a much bigger project than we anticipated, and so I don't know that that's going to happen. I will say the interior nav cut, if you guys are not using that mod, everyone should be using that. It is probably the most important settlement mod to come out ever from my perspective, because it's for HQ. It makes so much of a difference. But it turns out there's a massive bug in the default game where interior settlements like home plate, like HQ, like Vault 88, they all break the nav mesh in every interior cell in the game. So basically, over time, all of the dungeons in the game will start to get less pathable for NPCs as you build up an interior settlement, and this mod fixes it. All right, so we're going to click on Manage Ops again, and that'll tell us our warrior count. Let's see if we did recruit those 2 new soldiers or not. Oh yeah! Sonic Phil, thank you for the donation. Here's my DLC payment. Thanks. All right, so we did get our 2 new warriors. So we're going to go ahead and just sleep a few more times. We have plenty of beds. We've got lots of caps. So I believe they cost 250 caps by default to recruit a soldier. So again, for a lot of you guys, if you came in with this Chapter 2 save, you probably have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of extra caps sitting in your empire. All right, here we go. Oscar Fry, the newest streaming trend is to say "uwu" at the end of a replay. I don't know what that is. I'm too old for that. Let's see. Thank you guys for reminding everyone to @KingGathme. How long before this will be compatible with Xbox, Jack Nelson? I mean, it's hard. I don't know how to answer that. Like, it's already on Xbox. I played a little bit of it on my Xbox. It fits on the Xbox. How stable is it on Xbox? I mean, depends on your Xbox. Like, it's the Series X is going to be much more stable than the original Xbox One. So I would say the biggest killer I think most people have found on Xbox, and where they would say it's not really compatible with city plans. But this stuff shouldn't be a huge problem. I will say there's probably an exception to that if you get into a particularly huge battle, because right now we have you can bring up to 15 soldiers with you on a battle, and so if you combine that with so we got 9 now. I'm just going to sleep like 2 more rounds to try and get us up to that'll get us up to 14. So if you bring 15 soldiers to a settlement that already has like 20 defenders, the game has a cap of 45 AI units it's willing to handle at once, and I think that's for Xbox players. So even if you brought in your 15-man squad, even the busiest settlement for you should be fine. That was our goal. Like, we came up with those numbers. A lot of this stuff we learned from lessons back in Conqueror. So I don't know how many Xbox players here played Conqueror, but yeah, we learned a lot of lessons from that. So this stuff should all still work on Xbox. All right, let's go ahead and do one more. All right, Stonewood Studios. Sorry to bring up bugs immediately, but the latest update causes all my campaigns to run endlessly to a random spot in the woods. They don't respond to follow commands. This is a known bug. So that bug means that you have a... Actually, I don't know why it would be doing it to companions. So for visitors, that makes sense to me. But the random fleeing, if you go to another settlement, it will clear that. So the fleeing, that means you actually have somebody's attacking you. So we have a system in place we have our own raid system. Sorry, Oberland. So the vanilla raid system we all know, and it's really sad. It's not particularly fun. And we have our own system, and it is much more intense. The battles are bigger, the stakes are higher, you can lose the settlement. It does not kick in until after you have a outpost, so it doesn't happen by default. But once you start setting up an army, you basically open up yourself to our attacks. So we wanted that, so that way if you're playing through the whole mod from the beginning, that you're not having to deal with that stuff before you're ready. So it's kind of an opt-in system. This is like, as soon as you start playing with soldier mechanics, you're opting in to also dealing with the raids. And once a raid occurs, it tells all of the civilians at a location to flee, so they will run away from the player. And that gets cleared every time you go to a new settlement. So likely the settlement that those companions were at was under assault, and for some reason, and because you didn't conscript them as soldiers, they're flagged as civilians. That's the type of like little quality of life stuff will change. Like, your companions are clearly warriors, right? They're bad. They'll fight with you. So like, we should flag them special to not be affected by that flee system. That's definitely something we can do for sure. But it's not a bug. It's a feature that's a little too heavy-handed, is what I would call it. So, all right, what's going on here? Where's this attack happening?
Here we go.
Oh, the guards are engaging over there. Okay. You know what? We can go ahead. Let's use this. Let's go ahead and let's go and attack this place over here. I don't know why I didn't think about that before. Titan Town 21, thank you for the subscribe. All right, let's go ahead and get our binoculars out, and we'll start marking over some targets over here. Unless the caravan guards murder everybody. I don't see anybody over there. Or did I? Oh, you know, I probably cleared them earlier in the location. So we can just do this. So we're going to come over here, and this is another way you can do things. If a location is already cleared, so here's a gameplay loop that we envisioned, and that is after you clear. Oh, there's somebody. There they are. And I was like, I don't think I cleared this place recently. All right, there we go. Mark Saugus, and let's call in some support. Here we go. We'll talk more about that gameplay loop in a minute. Let's first survive this. Whoa! Oh god, cars exploding everywhere. You lack Empire supplies for the assault. Oh my god, I forgot the supplies. We were supposed to talk about those. Alright, let's see. Do I have an autosave? Yeah, go right here. Let's go back. Okay, we were supposed to talk about supplies. Yes, yeah, I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have a Starfield Direct plan for this. It was just shoot from the hip. So let's go get some supplies set up. And again, you'll be taught all this during the quest, so you won't make these same dumb mistakes that I'm making. All right, so let's get some supplies set up. So this is one of the things you need to do if you're gonna skip ahead like I'm doing and not play through the actual content. So there's a new type of resources. So in the supplies thing, you can turn this off. You want to make it so that you don't have to worry about supplies. You can do that. So you can see that my HUD on the right changed. Now, because I'm an outpost, it's going to show me supplies. And supplies are the resources you need for war. So those are ammo, armor, chems, and weapon parts. And they each serve a basic. They're for one purpose, each category. If you are playing on easy complexity, if you're playing on the simplest, you will just have one resource to track, the supplies. You can see up at the top of my screen there, it shows Caravan Network. I see caps. And then right below that is the little carry weight icon. That's the supplies. If you're playing on simple complexity, you will just have 3 rows there. You'll just have caps, supplies, and scrap. Simple as that. If you're playing in category, you will just track ammo, armor, chems, weapon parts. I'm playing right now in full complexity, so it's showing me the breakdown. So I'm not going to get into those right now because I know most of you aren't. You'll figure that out as you play. But basically what we need for, I am going to switch us to category complexity. What we need to run assaults is ammo. You're going to use up ammo every time you go on an assault. So we're going to go ahead and go to mod config here. And we're going to change ourselves to a simpler complexity. So most of you guys are probably playing on category. So let's go in here, gameplay. Let's go down to difficulty. And we'll change our resource complexity to categories. And I don't, oh, cool, the HUD updated immediately. So here we go on the HUD, you can see finish change resource complexity setting. Awesome. You can see now we have caps. Then we have our scrap line, which we have a crazy amount. Look at that, 124,000 out of 132,000. And then the 4 categories of scrap. Then we have supplies. And you can see ammo, armor, chems, and weapons. We have none. So there are a couple of different ways to get stuff. One is we can just donate it ourselves, which is what we're going to do. So the 4 categories, just a quick overview on them. Ammo is generally what you spend to do assaults. Weapons and armor, weapon parts and armor are what you use for the cost for the loadouts. And then chems are for treating injuries and diseases. There's a whole new medical treatment system built in, which hopefully we'll get to tonight. Uncertain, because with my pace, it's not guaranteed we're going to get to everything. So we're going to go ahead and donate some items. We're going to just find a bunch of random ammo we don't need. We'll go ahead and give them all of this. And this. Hopefully that's enough. I actually don't remember how much ammo we're going to need. But we can always cheat some in if we need to. So storage for supplies is separate from storage from scrap, but you get it automatically from Marshall Plots. So just like Industrial gives you some base storage, Marshall Plots will give you base storage of supplies. So most of you will have some supplies right away. Jim1973, thank you for the donation. Love the mod. Here's my DLC payment as well. Oh, fantastic. Patchwork, thank you for the subscribe. So we should see, there we go, 157 rounds of ammo now were donated. I actually am going to give myself more. I'm fairly certain it's more than that. I think it costs about 300 to do a full assault. So we're going to go ahead and we'll do help 38 for ammo. And we'll give ourselves a whole bunch here. 4 CE 87. We'll give ourselves 1,000. Let's just fill up our thing. So we'll give ourselves 2,200 rounds. And we'll go ahead and donate that. So basically you'll want to be donating when you first start out this mechanic, you'll just donate all the extra equipment you find on bodies. But if once you start building up stuff like we have over here, we have the Battlefield Scavenger Plot. And what this will do is make it so that when you do an assault, you will acquire a whole bunch of resources from the fallen enemies. So Battlefield Scavengers are going to be huge. I don't know, why does it only say I have 1350? What happened there? Oh, it didn't take all my rounds. That's why I gave them back. Let's see if that catches it this time. Ran out of space. Okay, so there's some sort of bug with the space. So we'll have to put that on the list. Oh, let's go ahead and update this. So I'm going to show you guys how to get more space. I don't know why it's... yeah, whatever. There's always bugs. But we'll go ahead and manually build some more storage. So if you go into your Sim Settlements 2 section, the same place you would find the storage crates, you'll now find that there are some lockers there. And the lockers will enhance the amount of supplies you can store. So we'll go ahead and build some of these. So we will we'll figure out in a patch soon why the supply max is not working correctly. And hopefully that'll be enough to let us donate the rest of our ammo. And exit there. And hopefully they got enough now. Well, we should get the pop-up shortly telling me whether they got it or not. There we go. How best to use your equipment. So we pop back in. Now we should have some more. There we go. 2357. If I had to guess what's going on with the ammo, why it said they ran out of supplies. So you can see up at the top on my interface, it shows Caravan Network. It might be something like the max supplies it's showing me is for my entire empire. Oh, we got a nice naked dude. That's fun. It could be something like the max supplies is from other outposts, and the outpost connections just aren't working correctly to share supplies, something like that. But we'll get those bugs worked out in time. So let's go ahead and try our little assault again. I am going to save here beforehand. And now I can see, or now I know there's enemies over there, so I can be a little more careful here. Let's find our guys. Oh, there's somebody sitting up there. So the binoculars are it's a little bit tricky to get them lined up just right. So one of the reasons is that the way these work is they shoot an invisible little projectile out. So if there's anything blocking, even like invisible stuff, it can often, oh, there goes a little delay there. Sometimes they can block your path to get to them. So so you'll find that getting it just right to find the point where you can mark them can sometimes be tricky. One of the things you can do to make it easier is if you go upgrade your binoculars at a weapon bench, you can actually change some stuff about them. You can change the zoom level. I think we have one where it has like a reticle on in the middle of it, so you can see kind of a crosshair. That will help also with marking targets. All right, so we're just going to mark a couple, and we're going to go ahead and fire off flare gun, because I'm really curious if I now have all of the requirements set. We've got a lot of warriors. We've got some ammo. We'll see if we actually got enough now or if we run into some other problem. And basically all of these little nuances about raising your army can be turned on and off. You can turn off the costs. You can turn off whether or not, if only warriors can come. You can turn off the distance. Oh, and okay, so we immediately, you can see some more raiders got spawned. So immediately will spawn, if there wasn't enough enemies in the area to battle the amount of soldiers you were going to bring, it will spawn some more, and it will try and make them match the type of people that live in that area. So we immediately got some more raiders. Oh, caravan guard. I thought I'm about to shoot you. So our soldiers should come running over here shortly. Alright, let's see if I can find our squad here. Here they are, coming up, running over from... So what ends up happening, if I wasn't right up close on top of the ones that got spawned, it will give you a marker of where you can meet your soldiers and you can run in with them. Oh, cool, we got Naked Guy with us. So they're going to just roll these guys because there's not very many of them. And when your army is small, and it looks at the entire size of your soldier count across your empire, the battles are going to be pretty easy. So you're going to be able to just kind of roll them. And then as your army gets bigger, your opponents will get bigger as well. So you'll start seeing more units, heavier units, etc. So now we got kill the remaining defenders. There we go. And so some of the enemies might not get caught up in the system, and your soldiers will just fight them anyway. So it tries to grab everything like within a small radius of the location record, but we lean toward it being... Yeah! There we go. And then you get this nice cinematic mode. You get a little victory cam showing you your score, and that's based on how many kills you got versus how many injuries your soldiers took. You can see we got some spoils there because we had battlefield scavengers, so we earned ourselves some ammo, some armor, some chems. And now the bottom there, those resources are what we will get every day as long as we control Saugus Ironworks. So each territory you take over, you will gain access to some things. Right now it's primarily daily supplies, But in the future, we'll be adding more interesting benefits to that. So there are a few locations where they'll give you like a permanent food or water bump to your settlement, and those get attached to what we call the beneficiary settlement. So in this case, it'll be the slog. We'll gain those benefits that just popped up on screen, and that's, like I said, it's as long as we hold it. So if we don't leave defenders here, eventually some other faction will come in and take it from us. But we'll leave some people here. First, let's go ahead and clear out the last of these guys. So now we control this location, and there's a couple of benefits to that. One is all those guys that we just brought with us are now going to be flagged as guards here. Their job now is to just hang out here. So if there's any respawns or like random encounters up on the street, then they will take them out very quickly. So let's go ahead and pop them. There we go. One more sneaking over there. And I don't know if we got any level ups, but your soldiers can actually gain experience while they're on assaults or if they're defending from raids. And they can start ranking up. Let's go ahead and check somebody and see if they ranked up. So he did not get close enough to combat for it. What about Naked Man? Did you score any XP in combat there? Let's see, did nobody? Do we have another bug already? I don't know what's going on there. I can't tell if it's delayed or if it's not working. But anyway, the intention is for them to get XP while they're in combat. All right, we'll put that on the list of things to look into. And eventually they rank up. Rank ups have a few benefits. They will increase the health slightly. I love that we just got Naked Man here. You'll get their health increased slightly, and they will have access to better gear, is what the ranking does. So you can see that everybody is now marked as guard duty. So now they're no longer living at that settlement, which means their plots will be unassigned. They live there, but they don't work there. Now their job is hold Sagus Ironworks. And so we have a massive defense score here, and you can see if we come over and hit manage territory, we have 69 defense here. That's plenty high to hold on to this location. We're still debating how to show that, about like how much defense you should have to prevent assaults and everything. But this is quite a lot, especially this early in the game where I don't have a big army yet. And you can see it's controlled by my empire. The beneficiary settlement is the slog. You can view the benefits again, and you can cycle through them. So we're getting ballistic ammo every day. We're getting enhancement chems. We're getting makeshift armor, and we're getting makeshift weapon parts. So those will just slowly trickle upward at the slog, and those will get added into the network. So the other thing you can do is go into workshop mode. Now this is not full featured workshop mode. You will find that you can do random things like repair stuff and scrap some things. But the goal here is to let you get a few little benefits. One is we can place down some basic turrets. Now we don't have any resources on us. It's basically whatever you have in your inventory to gain resources, so you got to kind of bring that stuff with you. We have some plans for this in the future to expand on it through HQ unlocks. But for now, it's just whatever's in your inventory, because we don't want to encourage you guys to build like crazy here, because then you're going to create yourself very unstable areas. But you can build a couple of interesting things. So one is turrets, and they will actually add to defense score, and they will shoot for you and everything. Another is you can build a communications relay, which will extend the range of your beacons from the beacon system. And they also will make it so that if you have both a watchtower and a communications relay, you will get a little quest notification when that location is under attack, so you have time to come and join if you want to help with the defense. One of the reasons we did this, and we did this for settlements too, the raid system does not by default notify you, because we knew that would drive people nuts. We already got that feedback from chapter 2 that people are like, I just nonstop quests to go defend my settlements. I don't have time. I can't do anything else but that. We didn't want to encourage that gameplay. So instead now the assaults happen silently in the background. Most of the time your soldiers will win, no problem. It's not like the vanilla system where you will get you have a 50-50 chance. As long as you have a decent defense score in your settlement, you will win the combat, and there will just be like slight little penalties if you lose them. Until you get to your outposts, where I mentioned before, you can lose the outpost altogether. And you can also lose the outpost if you don't have guards in it. or warriors, and then your settlements. This is one of those things where I need to go through and document the mechanics, and we're going to get all this on the wiki, and then I can speak more firmly on it. But basically, our raid system is designed so that you don't have to be involved all the time. There's not that 50-50 cap. You can go nuts with guards and patrols and defense and make it so that you will inevitably always win them. And the watchtower communications relay combo, if you build this in a location, you're saying, hey, I want to be notified when that place gets attacked, because it's really important to me. And I think that will come into play more as we patch out the mod more, because we'll start adding in really unique benefits to some of the cooler locations where you'll really, really want them. So now we've got kind of a rough framework of like the gameplay loop. The idea kind of is you would be building up your outposts, station a lot of settlers there, and then also play the game occasionally. You know, go do quests, clear locations, and then after you clear the location, mark it with the flare gun and fire a flare up in the air and have your soldiers come secure it and hold it for you. And so that'll be like kind of the last thing you do before you fast travel back to your settlements to reset your gear. So it's just like we want it to slot naturally into your play rhythm. So hopefully that works out. Hopefully that's what you guys feel like plays nicely. And if it doesn't, then that's something we'll have to massage the numbers and mechanics for to make that. That's the goal, though. So like that's one of the things we talked about a lot of testing Chapter 3 was what is our intention, because it's really hard for testers to give us feedback if they don't know what we're aiming at, if we're missing it by too much, unless we have established intention. So that's the intention we're going for. You guys give me feedback over the next few months about whether we're hitting that. But let's go into this manage soldier menu to show you guys one more thing. So I mentioned that all these people, their jobs are now guard, right? They're no longer working whatever plots. If we want to send them back to that settlement, we're like, you know what, too many people showed up here, let's send them back. You can change them back to a different type, so we can change these guys back to warrior, and they'll go back home. They'll go back to their outpost. We could also, if we wanted to, we could choose guard again. And we'll get the option to pick a different location. So we can actually send them to guard our regular settlements to help ensure that those don't get taken. So it's like, go ahead and we'll send a guard to Sanctuary. So now this person will wander over to Sanctuary, and they will still be a resident of the slog. So their bed will still be there, but their job now is to guard Sanctuary. We can also set up patrols. So if we go to our settler here, and we're going to make them a patrol, and we're going to say you're going to patrol back and forth between here, and we'll just make it the slog so you can actually see it happen. Let's see, where's the slog at? Is the slog down on the list? Or maybe they can't choose their own. Oh, that's right, they can't choose their own, because their outpost is the default. So they're always their origin point for their patrol is always their home, and we give them a new location. So let me think, what's the nearest to here? To the slog, probably, what would it be, like Taffington maybe? Well, we'll just choose that. All right, so now if they're on patrol, if we look at our menu here, we can see patrol right invalid location. Let's give it a second to clean that up. Or we got another bug for the list. Invalid location. I don't know why it's showing that. So it should show the location they're targeting. We're going to find all the bugs tonight, of course, because I'm streaming. But he will wander back and forth between Slog and Taffington now. And there are two benefits to that. One is it looks cool. It's really cool to have your guys patrolling all over, especially when you start getting into more unit types and you can set up like unique sets of patrols of like having like a couple of powered armored guys, maybe some dogs, and they'll patrol back and forth. And the other benefit is if a location with a patrol gets attacked and they start to lose the battle, any locations that are connected with a patrol will send reinforcements to help the battle. So the reinforcement system is one of the most enjoyable things to witness occur, because sometimes you'll be like just about to lose a clutch battle, and then all of a sudden you'll get a notification in the corner that's like reinforcements being sent from so and so, and your guys will come running in from off camera and help you. It's really, really satisfying. Again, if we were doing a planned demo of this, I would have had a situation already set up for that, but you guys just have to trust me for now. All right, so now that we've kind of gone over some rough draft of mechanics, I'm sure we can talk more about this stuff and I can answer more questions for you guys, but I'm going to take a pause of just rambling, catch up on super chats, catch up on your guys' messages, and we'll talk now. But this is like, we barely scratched the surface of what's available. And again, I'm going to keep reiterating this because I know in general, one of the things I think that we get the most flack for, and understandably so, is that we give you guys so many mechanics all at once, and that is not what we did in this. Instead, they're drip fed to you through the story, and we also have a tutorial system I can show you guys that you can run at any time you want from a holotape, and you can run it as many times as you want to remember stuff. So let's double back here and try and catch up on stuff. So Mass Effect shows with the super chat. Thank you so much. Says SS2 is incredible. Big fan. My tag is actually Vet Gamer Bocephus. Not sure why you two post my channel in these live chats. Awesome stuff. Thank you for the donation. And then I also missed Carl the Greaterist with another donation. Thanks to everyone involved in the Sim Settlements project. Yeah, thank them all there. The team is pretty awesome. All right, let's go back to chat and see what all I missed, because I am way behind. So let's see if I can get this to scroll down. Nope, of course not. So I have anybody who watches my stream regularly knows I battle YouTube chat all the time. It does not like to hold my position, and it will bounce around. All right, let's see here. All right, don't mind me, just scrolling back up, trying to find out where I last answered a question. Scroll and scroll. And I am going back looking for those at King Gath, so if you didn't catch the moment earlier, make sure you at King Gath me to catch your message. Okay, I'm going back as far as YouTube will let me. All right, Rekadsley says, did you go over the materials section of the weapon workbench on laser weapons and miniguns? I have that bug reported to Nihar. I think that some of our materials for our new weaponry is not conditioned correctly, so that'll get fixed. Zio Reimer with a huge super chat. Thank you so much. You and your team have made another amazing chapter, one of the best modders I've ever seen. Thank you so much. I hope you guys can play. I hope everybody can play through it. Mike, my dream is that all of you who are playing chapter 3, we clear the bugs out of your way to make sure you can at least finish the story before Starfield comes out. That's the dream. Let's see here. Street Trial. You can download all 3 chapters in one, or download chapter 3 by itself in your existing load order, unless King Gath says otherwise. No, that is the case. You can definitely you can play on your existing saves. The only thing that's not in the all-in-one pack is Workshop Framework. You got to grab that separately. Let's see. TJ Shook just got done watching the trailer. Not gonna lie, I think I'm more hyped for this than Starfield. I'll be downloading tonight. Thank you. Yeah, that trailer was I mean, I'll call it a masterpiece. I had almost nothing to do with it. That trailer is just goosebumps all the way through. So those guys did such a good job. We were fortunate enough to team up with the Capital Wasteland team, and they sent over one of their best designers or quest designers to help us. Imperial, if you're listening, thank you so much. And he worked with Pontus, who makes our trailers, and Kobus and Sarik, who wrote it. I'm trying to remember who else got involved with the trailer stuff. I mean, Sag and I were working on quest stuff and just didn't have time to work on it. So we had basically a separate team for about a month and a half producing that trailer, and it came out like this beautiful piece of like machinima. It's fantastic. So thank you to those guys who worked on it. Dova King, I am stuck on this. Where? I'm trying to build the motor, but it's asking me for weapon explosives. How do I get that? To get weapon explosives, you can donate them. Oh yeah, we started talking about supplies with that. You can donate them out of your own inventory. You can get them from assaults in the form of spoils. You can also get them from vassals. So if you make a settlement a vassal, based on its plot makeup, so the more different work, so all the different job plots. So the types that we don't give you in outposts, agricultural, commercial, and industrial, produce the most vassal tributes, but the other plots will too. And there's like a calculation that, goes in the back end, and it determines the daily vassal tribute that you get. So you can make vassals to get daily sources of supplies. That's kind of like the primary, one of the primary sources. And then we also have a marketplace system that we added in. I don't know if I won't have access to it here. Excuse me. There's a new faction, a new sub-faction that unlocks after you complete actually it's available right away, now that I think about it, through a certain mechanism. So let's see if we have access to it right now. So if we go to our inbox here, on your Warplaner's desk, and hopefully they're working in HQ. I set a few of these inboxes around, but I don't recall during testing if we got confirmation that these are actually working. But you will occasionally get little notes here, so you should periodically check these. And you can see right away, we got outpost need supplies, need extra, meet me in the blue doored house on the riverside north of Bunker Hill, don't be followed. So there is a group that I won't spoil for story reasons you can go talk to, and they will actually let you buy shipments of those different supplies. And you can also trade with them. You can set up trades of being like, you take, we have thousands of wood coming in, you take wood, you take 1,000 wood every day, and we'll take 500 explosives or whatever I don't know what the math works out to be, but you can set up daily trades. So there's a lot of different avenue to get these new resources. And this is one of this system, the marketplace trading and like all these different things we're talking about resources. This is why, for those of you guys who have been struggle bussing through the full complexity resources, I know one of the biggest complaints is like lead is so hard to get. Like, we left it that way because we knew we had the solution coming with chapter 3. This is, if you ever talk to your caravan services people in as far back as chapter 1, you would have seen they have a new supply. They had a supplies option in their dialogue wheel, and it just said to do if you clicked on it, and that was like the placeholder for this. And it took us this long to get there, but it's here now finally. So now you can. So now you can trade for resources. So that like the doors are wide open for the different combinations of setups that will work as a valid empire. Like between the marketplace trading and the watchtowers for sharing defense, like you can kind of design. There's like I can't wait to see all the strategies that emerge from this. Like there's just unlimited potential ways you can design your empire of settlements, and that's kind of the name of the game for chapter 3 is like just lots of player choice. There's tons of different outcomes that can result for your different characters. You get to choose who you ally with. You can choose what units you use, what settlements you use, how you lay them out. There's like a million different ways you can play this. So hopefully infinite replayability. And then when we bring back the pre-build system, that'll like magnify that to 11. So yeah, you have lots of different ways to get explosive ammo now. All right, let's try to slowly scroll here and see if it doesn't jump. Wither Rider, with the guards and warriors, can you recruit Minutemen and maybe Railroad and BOS as guards and warriors, or is it just normal people? So right now, it's primarily normal people. When you play through Chapter 3, there are a few opportunities you will come across where you will unlock a couple of new units, but it's a very small number, but we intend on greatly expanding that over the next couple of months. So the unit type system that I showed you, the unit type system, and then there's a subsystem called loadouts, which we should be able to mess with. Let me go talk to one of our soldiers over here. Talk to you, manage soldier. As long as we have an armory still equipped, we should be good. Armory options, change loadout. So right now, we've got a couple different options here. Actually, this should not be showing because this person doesn't have. So I think we probably have the rank configured incorrectly for this person. But basically, there's this loadout system which lets you change their gear for cost and a unit type system. That is going to be getting a little bit of an overhaul. And once we do that, once we finish that overhaul, the interfaces will look roughly the same to you guys, so it won't look like an overhaul to you, but on the back end there will. Once we finish that overhaul, then we will bring back a lot of the different units, and then yes, you'll be able to do what you just described. You'll be able to have Minutemen, Railroad Agents, Brotherhood of Steel, super mutants, all sorts of crazy people in your army. That is the goal. And then, of course, add-on pack authors can take it even further. I'm sure there will be add-on pack authors who add like crazy stuff like Death Claws and Mire Lurks and stuff. We're going to try and keep any of the units we introduce are going to be like pretty lore-friendly and like make sense in our story. Bobolonia Rising, thank you for the donation. Thanks for the DLT. You and your team rock. Really appreciate it. And I apologize, guys, for being a little slow on the super chats today because I'm rambling and I'm excited. Like I'm so glad you guys finally had this. I mean, it's like these mechanics have existed since Conqueror, and I've been working on porting them since chapter 2. Probably since before chapter 2. I've been tinkering with these. So I'm so excited to share all this with you guys. Sonic Phil, I missed your super chat as well. Oscar Fry wants to ask KG and team if they are getting ready to make their own FO4 TV show since Bethesda might mess up their own FO4 show. No, the production time on just that 4-minute trailer was insane. I mean, it took hundreds of hours to put that together. Like the engine does not want us to do that kind of thing. Like we had to do custom mocap, a lot of hacky stuff to like set up those scenes to work. Like pulling off. I think probably one of the hardest shots to get. You'd think it would be some of those battle shots or having like the knights drop in. That stuff was child's play compared to getting Jake to do the surprise look when you hear Dad. Like getting facial animations that look decent or at least show what you're intending in Fall of War is really hard. So yeah, no, we will not be making or producing a show. But thank you for the donation. Let's see here. going down. TVO4, has Bethesda tried to hire you to work for them like the other modders on other projects? No, and I don't want that. I would like my freedom, thank you. The game industry is notoriously underpaid, so I will keep doing this solo for the time being. Let's see here. Going on down, looking for those at King Gas. With a writer, do you have to have SS2 Chapter 1 and 2 enabled to play Chapter 3? Because it says Chapter 1 and 2 are redundant. So if you download the default file on Nexus, it includes Chapters 1 and 2 all in one pack, because I knew it would just be irritating as hell to have to go download 4 pages every time. It was already probably getting irritating with 3 pages in Chapter 2. So now you just have to update. When we do patches, you're just going to update Workshop Framework and grab the Chapter 3 all in one pack, and that will cover you. The other big thing we've been getting a lot of talk about is people being worried about Extended. Extended is still there. It's just now packaged with Chapter 3 because it requires Chapter 3. So we moved it out of the Settlements 1 page. One of the biggest problems we had for new players during the Chapter 2 phase of Sim Settlements was that people would grab SS2, just SS2, and it would include Extended, and the game wouldn't load. So you would go, or rather, you would get a warning. You would be like, you'd load it up in Vortex, and Vortex would say one of the plugins is missing because Extended was looking for Chapter 2, which you might not even know about if you're a new player. So now the hope is that if you grab Chapter 3, you're ready for the full thing. There's a very good chance what I end up doing is going and changing the main file on all 3 chapters to just be the full pack. The only reason that I might not do that is because the upload time every day would be absurd. Because I'd have to re-upload it to each of those every single time, and that would drive me insane. So if they had real upload speeds where I live, then that would be a different story. But unfortunately, at the speed I have, it already takes, it's like a 4-hour process to upload a patch. Like that is why, like that, at most you guys are going to get daily hotfixes, but I don't know how long we'll keep that up. I'm going to have to recharge on the water to keep up tonight with all this talking. All right, Dova Dude, is there a fix for the glitch where you can't clean anything in HQ in Chapter 2? I've looked everywhere, and all I've seen is I need to start a new game, but I have over 70 hours in mine. I'm not aware of that glitch. I'm sure it's reported on the thing, though, so eventually we'll get to it. Here, I'm going to talk about this with HQ. So I think HQ is our most hated feature, which is unfortunate, because I love that feature. We put ungodly amounts of hours into it, but I think the reason is it's very complicated. We definitely, with the 2.0 patch, we made it easier, and I think it's because there's not enough variety in it. It's not particularly rewarding right now. So I have a couple things planned for HQ to make it a more beloved system. One, and I think this is going to help it the most, is we're going to have the ability for you to assign your department heads to actually run the departments. That is going to be a HQ 3.0 patch. There's a couple things we got to do before we get to that. But the HQ 3.0, you'll be able to just say, like, Mansfield, you are in charge of facilities, so just take care of it all. And then they will just start doing things. They'll just run projects on their own. You'll just start coming back, and rooms will be clean automatically, and building construction will happen, upgrades will happen. Basically, as long as you have enough supplies and enough work energy. So then your job, you could make it if you want. If you don't want to deal with picking anything, you could just basically send people to HQ, and that would be it. Like, you just keep sending workers, and then the department will take care of the rest. That's the dream, where HQ can be entirely automated as much as you want it, or you can get involved individually. And then the second thing we're going to do that'll help is actually finish the Builder's Toolkit. There's like half of the Builder's Toolkit for HQ is done. Well, not even half. There's the ability right now, the documentation I have is to allow people to add new room designs, but so many folks have been asking me to expand the toolkit so they can do more, and I think those two things in combination, I think, will slowly turn the reputation on HQ. And while doing all those things, the reason I bring that up, Dova, is that the glitches you're running into while digging in and doing these overhauls, I'll inevitably find those and solve them. So that is not a common occurrence, what you're running into. I couldn't tell you why you're running into it, but like, I've never had testers report that to me who do a lot of playing with HQ. So I don't think that's a common issue, but it's also, you're not the first person I've heard it from. So I know it's possible. I just don't know what's causing it. All right, scrolling on down. Just a reminder, I'm seeing a lot of chat, and some of them have question marks, but I'm skipping if you don't have @KingGath. Otherwise, I'm going to be just reading chat tonight, and we'll never show you anything more. Admiral Corellia says, is the flare gun from the base game that Preston gives the same one for the war mechanics? Yes, it is. We actually have a hijack in place. So if you have a target marked, the flare gun triggers our system. If you don't have a target marked, it triggers the vanilla Minutemen system. So that was actually, once I figured that out, we also did the same thing for artillery. So artillery in the base game is limited to the Commonwealth because they wanted it to feel like a Minutemen thing. And once I figured out how to do hijacks, we now have support for artillery in other locations. That is one of the unlocks you will get as you play through our quests. You will eventually get to an unlock where you can have artillery in Far Harbor and Nuke World or any other area, any other mod world space you have that has settlements available. You'll be able to set up artillery. And that's because we figured out how to hijack events, which is really fun. There's so much stuff we learned how to do that we didn't know how to do before. Like we learned how to do Bink videos, which is why a lot of you guys ran into the Resurgence black screen bug, because it turns out that while we learned how to do Bink videos, the game only will load them as raw files, and we didn't know that. So let's see, scrolling on down. Lively super chat can be message or a sticker. Oh, there's stickers for it. I did not know that. I think it's because I'm looking on the little chat window. I don't actually see what you guys see on screen, so the sticker didn't come through clearly. But that makes more sense. I'm so far behind on chat because that was probably like 40 minutes ago that happened. So apologies, guys. I'll catch up eventually. Starhawk, can you recruit automatrons as soldiers? Yes, you can. And in fact, XV, who is one of our principal testers, figured out very quickly that automatrons end up being your most powerful soldiers because you can just equip them with broken gear. You don't have to worry about ranks or waiting for loadouts or finding gear. You just craft it. So yeah, if you want to go cheat mode, automatron army is a way to go about that. Dova Dude, is there a fix for the... Oh, that's the same question. I don't know if you asked it multiple times or I just got knocked back in my chat. The Loner One says, Yo Man tried to download all the chapters for Xbox Series S, but it doesn't download. It says this mod cannot be installed since it depends on files that aren't present. So I actually had that exact same problem. It turned out that my automatron was not installed. So make sure your automatron is installed. You can check on the main screen of Fallout 4 if you go to add-ons, make sure that didn't get uninstalled somehow. The other one would be make sure you have Workshop Framework installed. I did have a problem I've been slowly fixing it, but on the Bethesda page, it's really hard to add mod requirements to there. And for whatever reason, the only way you can see the mod requirements is on the little description page. And if I'm not able to add them, you're unable to see them. So I've been trying to fix them. I think I got it fixed on most of them, but I'll have to go double check where it didn't show the requirements. But you need to have Automatron, Workshop Framework, SS2, SS2 Chapter 2, and then you can install Chapter 3. Let's see. I just heard another super chat. James Peterman says, "What is next for you in terms of modding now that Chapter 3 is finished?" So I'll be honest. I have probably 2 years worth of additional content coming for you guys. So it's not going to be any more major releases, but we just have just mountains of stuff that is partially finished that cut for time because we realized we were basically trying to cram 2 chapters worth of content into one, and we eventually just had to cut ourselves off. But so much of it is done far enough where I'm not going to abandon on the cutting floor. So yeah, so we've got lots more content coming for you guys. I do have something in the works that I'll be interspersing with that because all this modding has only given me a taste for game design. So there's a lot more I want to do. But the only thing I can speak to right now is to say that you guys have lots more Sim Settlements coming from me. One of my dreams I've talked about many times is to finish Conqueror and get that ported over. That's going to be a huge challenge. But it's one of my, we wouldn't have the amount, we wouldn't have a lot of the story we have in SS2, not only story beats, but also the insane amount of detail in it, and amount of work put in it if it weren't for Conqueror, because Conqueror really gave me the taste for making story mods, because or SS2 as it became was very, very slow in development at the beginning. And so it was there were a couple points where it was we're I don't know if we can do this, because things were getting stuck. But then after Conqueror, I fell in love with making these big epic quest mods. And so I would love to bring Conqueror back because like a lot of you guys skipped it, and I think maybe you'll give it a chance now that you know and love Aiden. So Conqueror could be the closest we get to a chapter 4 as a Conqueror port. So I have a lot more to do with Fallout still. And especially, I joked with Sag, one of our lead quest designers, that if Bethesda fixes a couple of these big bugs, like the power grid bug and now this Navcud bug, I'll just probably make Fallout 4 my hobby forever. You guys will just see me releasing new content for this every year or two for the rest of my life, because I love this game and I really I understand the engine forward and backward. But Starfield's on the horizon. If it captures me like Fallout 4 did, then who knows? So I can't speak to it much other than to say I have something in the works right now I can't talk about outside of Fallout 4 modding, and I have a lot more Sim Settlements in me. So that's what I'll say to that. El Chirulo, can warriors travel with you like companions on Vanilla Quest, for example? So the plan is to bring that feature back from Conqueror. In Conqueror, that was the case. You could bring any soldiers with you, and we do intend on bringing that back, but there will be some caveats to it. One is that bringing a squad of 15 people with you to an interior cell is just going to be a disaster. So likely what it'll be is you bring the squad with you, but they won't go inside places. So it'll be like you bring them with you, and then you could establish them like, all right, take this place. And like they turn into your guards and you just capture the place immediately, something like that. But it got to a point where it was like, I need to stop feature creeping myself with mechanics. So what we called our squad system got pinned for later release. And I will say with the squad system, Erica Ember Studios did something amazing for it that's going to make it so much cooler. So Erica, if you're watching this and you're wondering where your things went, don't worry, they're on the table still. They're on the post-launch content block now. There is a lot of features coming, and that is one of them. That our squad system is definitely coming. Taylor Spencer, thank you for the donation. How big is the SS2 team? Do you have plans to expand? The team is actually pretty small. If you go look at the, actually, let me go look at the number. So the people, like it comes and goes in quantity. But if you go to the wiki, so wiki.simsettlements2.com, and go to credits, and you go to chapter 3. You'll see how small the dev team is. It's maybe 20 people, and then a handful QA. And then we get people who help us out with assets all the time. But at any given time, I would say it's like 20 super active developers, and then a handful of folks who just help here and there. And then a bunch more people from the outside who will give us an asset here and there. And then of course tons of voice actors. We work with a ton of voice actors. Our voice cast list is insane if you look at it for the entire Sim Settlements. Let's see here. New Stage 95. How much storage is it? Is it recommended to have the mod before the playthrough or during a certain point in the game? The mod on Xbox will take about 19. It takes almost all of your space. If you play on Xbox, it's going to take up about 1.9 gigabytes. On PC, it's significantly larger because we have way more content. PC has more quests, not on the main story, but more side quests, more characters, more building plans, more city plans, more of pretty much everything on PC. And so the PC size is 3.7 gigs right now, I believe. So because of the Xbox's storage space now, basically outside of a few exceptions, almost all additional side content we patch in is going to be PC exclusive. So there's going to be a lot of additional quests and characters that will be PC exclusive. So consider Xbox the starter edition. If you love it, then it might be time for you to see if your PC can handle Fallout 4. Because Fallout 4 is a pretty old game now, so you'd be surprised at what kind of systems can handle it. And I think most of us have a computer or a laptop or something, so in order to just do life stuff. So you know, at this point, how old's the game now? 2015, so 8 years old. So probably most beginner computers, if you can slap a graphics card in there, could probably run Fallout 4. So if you really love what you're playing with Sim Settlements, PC is the way to go. But we did manage to squeeze in this whole story, so you can finish up the story on Xbox. As far as when to install it, I recommend you install your rest of your load order first. Load up the game. With the exception of Workshop Framework, you should have that right away. get through like character creation, so that way all of your other mods do their startup nonsense, all those pop, you know, like if you're playing with a lot of weapon mods, you get all those injection scripts and all that. Let all that stuff clear out and then install Sim Settlements, because Sim Settlements has a lot of quests that need to start up on launch that manage all these different mechanics. If you've got a whole lot of mods, the other thing is, if you're running a lot of, like I've heard people say, if you run all the Creation Club mods, then Sim Settlements just won't start. So again, starting up your game, getting past character creation before you install Sim Settlements is a really good idea. Commander Wolf, has anyone made a working, usable bunk bed? That seems like it would be useful. Yes, actually we have that. I don't know if we made it buildable though. But we have it in some of our plots. So, but there are a lot of, any beds count like normal. So we count with soldiers, even in all of SS2 it counts beds. You don't need to build residential anymore. So whatever you've got from different mods that have weird bed counts, like bunk beds, or the beds that let 2 people sleep in them, 3 people sleep in them, whatever, those should work. Warren Westcott, thank you for the subscribe. Let's see, Commander Wolf, that was the same person. The bunk beds, yeah, bunk beds very useful for this. I also anticipate that we'll see a lot of building plans get repurposed or redesigned to use some of these new classes from existing add-on authors. I could see new ones coming out that match the style of Conqueror. And for city plans, we're going to wait until either October or November. We're still discussing it internally to bring back the city plan contest. But the city plan contest for season 4 is going to be all about outposts, because they demand a very different design, right? If you're trying to design a space that doesn't use the 3 core job plots and you need lots of beds, that's a totally different design idea than one that would be for commerce effectively. So we're going to have basically a year of city plan contests focused on making outpost designs for different settlements, so if not longer, because we want to make sure that, like, one of the reasons that the city plan contest came into being is we wanted to make sure that if somebody had a whole ton of city plans installed, they could always have a completely different playthrough where every settlement had different designs in it. And we want that same feeling for outposts. So like if you're not a builder but you like the mechanics of something, you know, maybe you like the war mechanics, or you just want to you want your settlements to be built up as interesting new locations, you know, having a city plan contest fill that gap, having all those entries fill it in is pretty useful. So and I think that those guys are having a lot of fun with it still. We gave a lot of the city plan contest contestants early access to Chapter 3 so they could play around with the mechanics, and a lot of questions, a lot of ideas coming up. So I'm excited for that to start. And in the same vein of the talk about beds, I think we'll see a lot of city plans and building plans that are very, very much catered to all these new mechanics. It's me and Joe Nuts. Thank you for the subscribe. Appreciate it. All right, scrolling on down here. Computer says no. How quickly do you unlock find get the new weapons? Yeah! The new weapons. So the weapons actually have the new weapons that you see in the trailer. Those are actually for story reasons. Like, we didn't just like want to cram in a cool new weapon. You notice that generally all the new things we've added in here, like I think Sim Settlements is up to like 6 weapons now, and most of them have been for mechanics. You know, we've got the Vitomatic, we've got the recruitment clipboard, we've got the fire extinguisher. They're all mechanic based. They're not just fight weapons. But the reason that we have the new weapons is, and this is the most I will say about is spoilers, because I think most of you guys here have seen, have played enough to this isn't a really big spoiler, is that the idea of the gunners that come in after Wes, so in the trailer, are coming in with new gear that were equipped from their employer. And so we needed something to represent, like, why are these, you know, how do these gunners look more well geared out? And because we don't really have an armor artist on our team, we do a lot of kit bashing, and occasionally we're fortunate enough to work with Nero to get some new bits, but he's not the quickest at stuff. It takes quite a while for him to get stuff, so we couldn't commit to new armor. And even then, the armors that are available, like, we use a lot of armors from Default to Fixer, but they still look very vanilla. They wouldn't look like new stuff, and we didn't want to lose the feel of gunners, so we settled on weapon because we have Nihir. So those new weapons show up as soon as you start seeing the new gunners show up in the Chapter 3 story. So that's as much as I'll say about that. But they will all be equipped with them. So you will get loads of variations of those weapons right away. They're available in pistol, rifle, and heavy versions. And all sorts of people will be equipped with them. So you will be overloaded with those guns very quickly if you play through Chapter 3 quests. Let's see here. Kez Daddy with the donation. Thank you so much. Missed your streams. It's good to have you back. Yeah, it's good to be back. I hope to make this a regular thing. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle streaming once Starfield comes out, because my first playthrough of Starfield is 100% going to be a personal thing. I'm not going to do it in front of an audience, and I don't know if I'll stream Starfield. So I think it'll come down to, if I start streaming and nobody's watching because you guys all would rather watch Starfield, then I'll play Starfield and just hang out and chat and talk about things I might mod into it, and maybe it'll be like a second playthrough for streaming, or I'll just keep streaming Sim Settlements stuff if you guys show up. Like if we got 70-80 people watching, where it's not if 4 of you show up during Starfield time, then I'm basically hanging out talking to myself. So if we get enough of you are interested, then sure, we'll keep streaming Sim Settlements 2 through the Starfield through my Starfield playthrough. We'll see. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. It's good. Z Games, what does the Capital City do? So Capital City, so both Capital City and Command Post, anticipate those getting expanded on in the future. They actually exist, one, because I like the idea of them having like a unique functionality, but we also needed them mechanically. So by default, the biggest benefit to a Capital City right now is all of the settlers that are recruited there naturally through the radio will have slightly higher special stats. So the idea is your Capital City would draw more sophisticated people, so you'll get people with higher pools. That is like that's the mechanical benefit to you right now. In the future, we'll probably have others. But we need it mechanically because there is the system we have in here for assault, or for raids rather. So we call assaults are what we call when you are the attacker, when you're the aggressor. Raids are when NPCs are the aggressor. And so when raids happen from certain factions, some factions are flagged to take captives, others are flagged to not take captives. And if a faction that doesn't take captives takes over one of your settlements, your people need somewhere to go. They go to your capital city. Same thing with soldiers. There are some factions that will take prisoners of war. There are others that will not. If one that does not captures your outpost, then all of your soldiers will relocate to your command post. So we needed those for mechanical reasons. The other mechanical reasons are your capital city is the point where marketplace trading occurs. So if you set up daily trading, it all routes through there. So it'll fill up the storage there first and then spread out to the rest of your settlements. The same thing with command post soldiers. Like if we end up giving you soldiers and we don't have an outpost, we send them to the command post. So those are kind of like your central main hub settlements for outposts and for regular settlements. Benjamin Nelson, thank you for the subscribe. All right, let's see. Scrolling through this some more. Records, you can run through the weapon material tab and lace around its miniguns. Yeah, we talked. I don't know if. I think that's the second time you've asked that, but I'm literally an hour behind on chat now, so I don't know. But basically, we know that there's a bug with that. There's some of the new weapon materials are showing up for other weapons. That'll get fixed. I'm guessing they do nothing if you use them on not our new custom weapons. Sato 404, I have vanilla Minutemen settlers and the ones that spawn by the Minutemen officer trait. After I convert the settlement to an outpost, will they count as Minutemen or conscripts? They will show up. I don't know how they'll show up. They'll probably show up as conscripts, as their unit type, but we don't change the names. So in Conqueror, we overrode the names, but we opted against that for a couple of reasons. One, it's you don't want your unique people to get renamed. And we want you to feel like you've got a ragtag army, so we want you to have like Minutemen and Brotherhood and Super Mutants and stuff named that you keep their names because that feels cooler. So now the unit type only shows up on their menu. So even if they get converted to a conscript, it's only on the soldier menu. It won't ever show up. It's not going to replace their name, so they'll still be called Minutemen. Quince, thank you for the subscribe. All right, going on down. Apparently the rest of the video stream is just going to be you guys staring at the forged Saugus Ironworks because I'm so far behind on chat. Sonic Phil, if you've been using easy mode on SS2, particularly the option for free build type of materials not to worry about, will that work for Chapter 3 materials also? For free build type, so in Chapter 3's mechanics for the supplies, you do have a top level type. So like in Chapters 1 and 2, when you played like that, you had access to scrap, and it was like just a singular resource. Now we have supplies as a singular resource. As far as free build, you can turn off any of the individual systems that cost. So right now, there's no maintenance costs with the new supplies. That is something that we have on the table. Like I have it coded in. We just didn't use them because I need to do a balance pass before we get to that, and I just didn't have the time. Because as I mentioned, we have like 2 chapters worth of mechanics and story. So it was like some stuff had to get chopped. So it was like, all right, let's take something like maintenance costs, which really needs to be well balanced, and we'll shelve that for later. Hardcore players are the type that will want it, but they also want it to work well, so I didn't just shove it in there. So if we go into options here, and we go to gameplay, and no, I want to go to costs. If we go to gameplay and then costs, you'll see that there's some new stuff in here. So we've got assault costs, loadout costs, and medical treatment costs. Those are the 3 primary. I think soldier recruitment costs as well. So those are your 4 new costs. If you're playing on what I did was I set it up so when you first install, depending on your resource complexity, it will set a lot of the options by default to match what I expect those players to be. So if you're playing on automated, so if you're playing on the easiest mode of settlement building, or of sim settlements, so that would be for those of you guys who the first time you open up the City Manager holotape, you would have got this. Let me go to it. Options wizard. So here, when you get this menu, and this would pop up automatically for you when you first run the holotape. If you chose automated, then all of the new Conqueror options or the new war options are going to match what we would expect someone who selected that. If you had your resources set to category, you're going to get the options we anticipate for this, and then people who had full complexity will get the options to match hardcore. So for a lot of you, you probably find that some of the things that happened to me didn't happen for you. So like if you're playing on automated mode, there are no costs. So there's no assault costs. There's no loadout costs. You can just do that stuff as much as you want. So we tried to come up with an option set that would match what we anticipated that playstyle is. But you can turn them on too. So even if you're playing in that, like what you described, Sonic Phil, you could go turn on assault costs and they would just cost that generic supplies. So you can still mix and match and make your own gameplay combination, just like you could with the other SS2 mechanics. Neil Luna, can you make your army themed? Like make all your dudes be dressed up as Minutemen? Yeah, you can absolutely go manually equip people. So one of the things we have, so if you have the armory, once you build an armory, it unlocks loadouts to where your outposts will try and auto-equip people. But if you come on to your Quartermaster's key here, and you can turn off auto-equip across the board, or you can do it for each individual soldier. If you go to their menu, if you go to Manage Soldier and go to Armory Options, you can turn off auto-equip. So you would do that for any people you manually equip. So if you want to go manually hand them gear, you can go for it. In the future, what I anticipate is we will have a fair amount of gear options that fit nicely, and then add-on packs will be injecting some. Like I know Captain Laserbeam on our team was talking about, he really wants to do like a Minuteman. I think he was, I'm sorry, Captain, if you're watching, and I'm screwing the pooch on this. I think it was Far West Minutemen is the one that he loves, but it might be the militarized Minutemen. One of those two he wanted to make like a unit and loadout set for, so that people who are using those could like make all their soldiers use that stuff automatically. That is the end game goal of our loadout system, is making it so that you can have all your soldiers match, and you can kind of configure it. Actually, I should go show you guys that since we're talking about it. On the desk over there, and because we unlocked all the tools, it should, since we use the cheat command, it should be there. Some of you guys who are playing through the story might not have access to all this stuff yet. It'll come up as you go. But on the Quartermaster's key here, we can configure our ranks and loadouts. So, excuse me. You can actually change the rank names. So you can choose, like, we have a set, it's rank, trained, or rookie, trained, expert, veteran, and then legend. And these are actually, I can see there's a bug here with the number. It should say rank 1, rank 2 instead of rank 0. We had rank 0 when we were first working with it, and then I changed it sometime in development. I probably just forgot to update this menu that rank 0 sounded dumb, so we got rid of it. But you can actually change the rank name, so it can be like, I don't want them to be called rookie, I want them to be called something else. And I think we injected a few options here. Let me check. Yeah, so you have a few different options here, so you can give them, you can change all the names. And this is another thing that add-on pack authors will be able to inject. So you can create your own rank structure, and then for each rank structure, you can choose their default loadout. So we have right now the default loadout is the Wastelander. You'll be able to have, like, if you install some mod that adds some new loadout sets, you'll be able to set the default to be like, all right, I want all my rookies to be dressed in this set of gear, or all my my rank, whatever my rank 2 is called, I want them to be dressed in this gear. You'll be able to establish that, and this works across your army so that you'll have a standardized set of soldiers. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff in that, but that a lot more of the units and loadout stuff and the type of thing you're looking for there will come with a patch overhaul and then from add-on packs. So that's kind of the equivalent. That's like the closest to a building plan system we have with the 3.0 mechanics, is that we wanted to leave a lot of room for designers to do their thing. And especially because there's so many crazy cool equipment mods where it's like we can't compete with that, right? Like we're never gonna have the manpower to do something like Far West Minutemen or Militarized Minutemen. So like, let's let people who are willing to create a patch mod to take those mods and turn them into like fancy loadout sets and stuff, and that will be a better resource. So that's the expectation for you guys getting access to that, is like once we write up the tutorials, which there is a rough draft of them available. So any of you who are familiar with making add-on packs, we do have a rough draft of that stuff written up. If you're not familiar with the way our add-ons work, the rough draft's not going to work for you because you wouldn't be familiar with my patterns. But like I said, we're going to be doing a little bit of an overhaul of it that would affect that documentation. So it's high on the priority list. I would say that's the #1 system I'll be working on first, because we have a whole lot of partially completed content. If you were to dig around in the SS2 ESM, those of you who are familiar with it, you would find we have literally dozens of units that are just like in the wings waiting to be unleashed on you guys. Missed a couple super chats there. Just inaccurate. Cheers for the team's work on this. Looks great. Thank you so much. And then we've got Kajabi. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Kijabi. With another super chat. It says, I have a decent rig and my game was crashing hard at the Battle of Sanctuary Hills in Part 2. Should I build only one of the 3 settlements in the Triangle, Sanctuary, RR, and Abernathy? So, I mean, anytime you're crashing, I would say, yeah, that's a sign you need to take it easy on there. It depends on what the crash is, though. Like if you're playing, you say you have a decent rig, which means you're not playing on Xbox. I would ask, are you using something like Buffout to help reduce crashes and also get crash reports? That's something I would look into, because it could be a specific thing that's crashing things. It might not be the battle that was causing it. It might be something that like unrelated. Like maybe it was just pathing, because nav mesh issues can cause crashing. And so like Buffout would be what I recommend you get to see what's going on there before you decide that, I can only have a certain number of settlements or whatever. The other thing is, with as far as the battles are concerned and everything, we will eventually come up with some sort of mechanism where you can like opt out settlements out of the mechanics, because that will help with that kind of thing. So like if you find like, oh man, the like Sanctuary, like the Triangle of Death is too crashy for me, can I lock those settlements out of being attacked ever? Like we can offer something like that in the future. We'll add like some buildable item you do, then it's like just turns off attacks there. The order. Yeah, compatibility with Minutemen and WAM. Yeah, that's the stuff that like what we ended up doing with our units and stuff was we tried to use vanilla leveled lists for everything, so that way if you have those mods installed, they should just naturally hook in. But to get like a full featured integration, it's going to require add-on authors to come up with, to create that kind of situation. Let's see. Jason Lockrant, sorry it's been covered, but I heard that interior Nepcut fix will be implemented in Workshop Framework. That's true. It was covered. That was the intention. But unfortunately, the work involved was more than the person that we work with, Sidante, has time to deal with. So my best hope is that Snapdragon will let us include it with Workshop Framework. But until then, it's just basically going to become like one of those mods that I just sing praises as often as possible. Everyone on PC grab interior nav cut fix. It is, to me, the greatest DLL ever created for Fallout 4 because it's night and day, particularly where you can see its power is with HQ, a fully loaded HQ, seeing your people just walk around everywhere and not get stuck. So for the longest time, I had just assumed that we just did a crap job of creating our room designs, that I was like, oh, we just screwed the pooch with creating how the there's all this work we have to do in the back end. So I'm not trying to crap on our designers or anything, but there's all these like technical things we have to do with the HQ designs, and if we screw up on those, then it causes nav mesh issues. And I had assumed that was the case. I was like, all right, eventually we'll go through and fix it. Turns out it was this nav cut bug. But the real reason to use it, even if you don't use HQ much, is that the interior nav cut fix will solve all sorts of pathing issues in interior cells if you use any interior settlements. So not only could HQ cause this problem, Vault 88 could cause this problem, Home Plate could cause this problem. Any interior buildable space would cause problems with the nav mesh in every interior cell. It's a really crazy bug. Z Games, are there rival empires vying for territory? That is a future feature we will be introducing. So right now, as you play through our story, you'll find that the Gunners are that force, that they are trying to take over your whole empire as you play through the story, and you're trying to stop them. But in the future, there will be a couple of things that we will be adding. One is, we talked about the pre-build system. The pre-build system will also have the ability to precede the world with empires. So you could like, all right, I want to see super mutants and raiders having presence, and they'll just have some of the pre-built settlements. So instead of the pre-built settlements all being generic settlers, some of them will be some faction. And just by the nature of the way we built our mechanics, those factions will naturally try to expand themselves. What I have in my head that I don't know if we'll be able to pull off, but I'm hoping to do, is to have an invasion system where you'll basically be able to opt in some way to declare war on a faction, and have that faction like do an initial invasion, establish themselves a command post, and try and expand from there, kind of like a 4X or an RTS, where just like all of a sudden you've got new opponents that you got to figure out how to deal with. That's the dream. I don't know if I can get there or not, but I can say for certain that we've already got it that kind of working. It's faked in some ways, but we have that effectively working for the Gunners right now. So I don't see why I shouldn't be able to expand it. It won't be intelligent. You're never going to have like a complex system like you would have in like Civilization or Stellaris, because we just don't have the support for that in the back end. So I would have to code it all myself, and like I can't. I'm one man. I'm not going to code a whole game's worth of AI. So it'll be kind of like really basic, like the strategies for most AI that I tend to do, like for raids, are just like pick the lowest defense, like calculate the ratio of defense versus resources generated, and the lowest one or the worst ratio gets attacked, right? So it's like you have a place that has a lot of resources with a minimal amount of defense, that's going to be more likely to be attacked than a place with no resources and a lot of defense. And then we just, like, that's as complicated as we'll get in formulas. So yes, the intention long term is to make it so that you can see various factions invade, and ultimately, and we want that to be an opt-in system. So, you're opting into the Gunners by continuing our quest line. But beyond that, we want it to be a system where you can be like, yeah, I want to declare war on a faction. And then the goal will be that once you win the war by taking out all of their outposts, then that faction never shows up again in raids. Like, that's kind of the dream. So then the idea in my head is that you will have a system where you load up a game, like long term we're talking here, guys. This is not available right now, but long term, like, this is my vision, is you'll load a new game. You'll set up some options for how you want the world to pre-populate. You'll come out of the vault, and the world will have all sorts of settlements built up. There'll be some with civilian populations, some with enemy populations. They will be all randomized with city plans, so you have no idea what to expect. So each time you play, the whole world will be completely different, because there's 34 or 32, something like that, settlements in the base game. Your mod added settlements would happen as well if city plans existed, and you'll just wander around to discover all this. You'll be able to conquer eventually the entire map, because we have the territory system. You'll be able to conquer all of the settlements, and eventually you will control the whole world and have defeated every every faction so that they don't have a presence anymore, and you will just be like the supreme ruler of the Commonwealth. That's the dream, is that you could do that. You don't have to. You can play as much or as little of that as you want, but that's the goal. That's my end game. I'll feel like satisfied these mechanics are to their completion when we've got that capability. So then you'll be able to role play as I'm coming out of the vault, or not, if you want to use the alternate start mod. I'm going to start a Minuteman army and take over the world, or I'm going to start a Brotherhood army and take over the world, like however you want to do it. Or you don't want to do that. Maybe you don't want to take over the world. I just want to be a trader. I'm not going to engage in the war mechanics, but I still want to build up my settlement empire just like I did in chapter 1. That will still be an option. So obviously with if you're playing through our full story, you do the war mechanics as part of it, but beyond that, the goal will be for the rest of the system to be opt-in, so that way people who are just like, I'm here for the story, not for all this fighting, I want it to stop eventually, you'll have that option too. Oscar Fry, Lieutenant Naked Guy fights in the buff to boost troop morale and scare enemies, because how do you fight off a naked man? Yeah, I'm betting that's just like there's probably an error in one of our leveled lists for the recruits. My guess is he actually let's go check that. He probably got equipped with a loadout that has like a bad combination of items in it. So this is another thing, that one of the reasons that we put a pin in the loadout unit system is that we didn't get to do thorough testing on like, hey, do all of our gear combinations are all of them valid? Because if any of you mess with leveled lists, I don't know how immensely complicated they get. And like, if you accidentally put a glove in there that overlaps a slot that it's not intended to. Let's see, is Naked Man? No, he's not rocking loadout. So he just spawned naked. So, I don't know why. That's interesting. I think I have the outfit injection patch, so could be that we have again, same thing. Anytime you find a naked person, it's almost always the same thing, and that's that some leveled list has an invalid combination of items in it. Let's see here. Scrolling on down. Laker Fair game. I've been playing a Story Wealth collection with Sim Settlements 2 installed in my community, and myself have been absolutely loving it. Thank you for being such an amazing mod. I've actually spoken to recently with one of the folks on that team, and to make sure they know that if they need anything, they should let me know, so that you guys can play Chapter 3 in the Story Wealth collection as well. But we made sure to ship with the hijack system in place. I know that was something that we didn't have in for launch or maybe we had it in for launch, but you could only do it through the holotape. And then after the fact, when a lot of people didn't know about that holotape system. So there was just like, hey, your mod's incompatible with mod XYZ. And then so we added in the little intercom system, and now that we shipped with that, so that any of the spaces that we take over for quests, there's the intercom system to switch them back. So you should be able to use them with whatever quest mods you've got right out of the box. Poke Reader 25, will there be a merge mod for all 3 chapters for Xbox, as I don't have the mod space to download all 3 chapters? No, there won't be a merge, and that's as small as we could get it. I spent dozens of hours gutting things from the Xbox version, like trying to make I just want to preserve the mechanics, and I want to preserve the story, and like anything that's just like decorative or extra flavor had to go. So we had to take away a lot of plot decorations. We took away the HQ intercom system. There's a whole lot of stuff that got cut on Xbox to fit all 3 chapters. But I will say that when I'm satisfied that mechanics are done and most bugs are fixed, I will eventually release a mechanic-only edition of Sim Settlements 2 that will be all the story content is locked out, and you just play with the mechanics, and that should be something like a 700 or 800 meg download. That'll be the ultimate space for Xbox. But I mean, literally, I'm thinking that's 2 years out from now, because there's so much to do still. There's so much. It's going to take a while to get. You guys know the routine. Those are your regulars. It takes me a long time to get all these bugs worked out. Some bugs may never get fixed, as we've seen there's some still from SS1, because they're just. There's gremlins in the code. There's the code is so complicated, plus the fact that we don't have access to certain engine level stuff. So it's never going to be perfect. We don't have a lot of programmers. More importantly, we don't have engine access. So there'll be some things never get fixed. But to get it to a state where most things work as expected and quests can generally be played through without having to do console commands, that's my first objective. And then of course we have all this content I mentioned that's going to take a while for us to get out. like that stuff all has to happen before I worry about a minimalist version. John Geddes, just a quick question. In the trailer, the Gunners are attacking Sanctuary. Is that settlement they always attack in the story? No, that was just a... so just like how we always use Nate in our trailers, we always use Sanctuary as our proxy for your settlements. So we used Sanctuary also in the Chapter 2 trailer when there's a moment where like Wes flies in a chopper and tells everybody they're under control. We use Sanctuary for that too. It's just a proxy. It's like, hey, this is... this represents your settlements, like, because everybody recognizes Sanctuary, right? Oh, looks like Yagi, you got me there. You had the same answer. Neo Luna, is there a way to dictate what your soldiers wear so you can theme them as, say, Minutemen? Yeah, we went over that now. So yes, there will be. There is not yet, other than you can manually assign them, which I assume some of you will do, but most of you will be like, ah, it's too much work. But we do respect you doing that, so we let you disable the auto equip. And I just got... Oh, my chat just jumped. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. I'm missing a lot of your... things here. Oh, my God. I jumped so far ahead. Oh, man. So much chat. I didn't realize how far I'm behind. But my chat actually jumped to current times. And I'm scrolling back up so I don't miss any questions that got asked. Let's see here. Oh, man. Okay, I went back as far as it would let me. YouTube just decided to eat a bunch of the chat. I really need a solution. If anybody knows, any of you is a streamer or knows a streamer that has an alternate solution to chat, I need a new chat client. I need something that preserves my chat forever, merges YouTube and Twitch together. I need something like that. Ken Ross, so I apologize to anybody who I missed your question in between the last one I just answered and this, that YouTube just ate a bunch of my chat. Ken Ross, if I have already destroyed the Brotherhood of Steel, will that break Chapter 3? It will not. We respect whatever you did in your game already. We respect whatever you decide to do during playing the game. So yeah, you will be totally fine. The Order, any talks with the modder behind America Rising 2 to see if SS2 could be compatible? I actually, Odolino, we've had discussions about it would be really cool if one day he added in an HQ system for the Enclave. So yes, I've talked to him about it, but that's so much to do still. Like those kind of dream collaborations, like maybe one day, but you know, it's a lot of work. I will say like HQ was just a massive thing, but yeah, like something like injecting into our unit type and loadout systems for the Enclave would be absolutely doable and pretty painless. That was one of the design goals of the new system, was to make sure that other mods and stuff could inject their content pretty easily. In fact, we even have it rigged up, and we got to expand on it still. We even have it rigged up to make it feasible for when you guys get into this more, you'll start to see how alliances work in SS2 as you play through the storylines, for other mods to inject their own factions and characters as potential allies in our system. So we hope to see that. We hope to see, you know, stuff like America Rising or stuff like Fenn's Sheriff Department, stuff like that. Like any of those mods that have like groups of warriors, we'd love to see them being able to hook into our systems fully. Jake the Dog, I play on Xbox. Do I need every chapter, or can I just grab the base in Chapter 3? You do need all of them. Chapter 3 relies a lot on Chapter 2 stuff because the story builds on it. So a lot of the assets that are used in the Chapter 3 story and characters are actually originally introduced in Chapter 2. Eternus the Goat, not Chapter 3 specific, but will there be any pre-war Institute or Vault builds, residential, commercial, recreational, etc.? We don't do that on the team. We stick to the art aesthetic of the base game. Add-on pack authors are welcome to do whatever they want. I'm sure there is stuff in those themes available already. I know there's a lot of Vault stuff available for plots. So there are at least 2 Vault-themed add-on packs that got released over the years. Lady Raincloud, thank you for the donation. Super chatting. I'm a streamer and I use Chatterino. All right, let me put that on my notes list. Look into Chatterino. Because I complain about YouTube chat every time, and then I have failed to do anything about it. So I need to stop being a whiny baby and fix my problem. Neo Luna, I kind of already asked this question, but you have since provided new info that modifies what I need to know. Anyway, there will be soldier loadouts, so you can have all your units as Minutemen. Yeah, that will be the long-term plan. And if we don't satisfy what you're looking for, add-on packs will be able to. Let's see here. Nick Carter, the Chapter 3 or Workshop update seems to make the first loading of the game a bit faster. Yes, the 3.00a hotfix I did, I changed the way the startup codes run. So if that's what you're talking about, the startup code should run a lot faster now. Actually, what it is, the startup code doesn't run any faster. I reorganized things so it seems like it runs faster. I just cheated it. I put the stuff that's the most in your face first so that it feels like everything worked. Slingo, I remember either you or someone else saying there would be an option to just skip the HQ entirely, something like that. Did anything ever come of that? So it didn't come yet. That was on my hope list, but as we get deeper into development, especially when we have timelines, I start we now have a Trello board for our team where it's like, here's all the things we're hoping to ship with, and then over time, as we see like, oh, that system took like 3 months instead of 2 weeks, then things start having to get flagged as post-launch. So we have, like I mentioned earlier, about 2 years of content still coming your guys' way. That just systems, and one of them was the HQ skip system. And I talked a little bit about it, and maybe you asked that question, and I've since already answered it, and now I'm going to repeat myself. Sorry. That is the problem with me being a long talker and trying to keep all these answers or answer all these chats. My hope or my plan for HQ is it's not a direct skip. There actually is a skip right now in the sense that you can now with the cheat holotape, you can skip Commonwealth Rising. So I know that quest is one of the ones that bricks a lot of people. You can actually just skip it in the cheat menu. There are some advantages to having a built-up HQ, but my plan long-term, instead of just a full-on bypass of the system, is to just allow the department heads to just do everything for you. They'll do all the cleaning, they'll do all the building, they'll run projects. So you don't have to do anything if you don't want. And then you getting involved would be because you're like, oh, well, I want this to go a specific route. I want, to have this specific room design in this room, or I want to research these things first. Like that's going to be the incentive, instead of it being just like, oh, I just want access to these things. That'll happen automatically over time. Keldane, do these non-settlement location raids work with mod added locations? Yeah, it should work with any location that has a map marker will work. I think the only exception I put in is there's a tag on some locations that it's called like settlement, and it doesn't mean settlement like Slog, Sanctuary, etc. It means like a location with pre-placed NPCs, so that would be like Diamond City, Good Neighbor, Bunker Hill. Those locations I think are the only exceptions right now, and I can't even be positive that that's the case. It might not have worked. It was like at one point, one of our testers went through and tried to test every single map marker, and they gave me this big report on it, and I never had time to go over it. So expect the territory system to be overhauled over time. Like a lot of these systems, like the way I tend to develop is I get a system to where it feels like okay, there's something there. This is fun. Like I like this, and then I'll do a little bit like some light quality of life stuff, and then I'll leave a lot of hooks in place to be like, okay, I wanted to add this in the future, and this in the future, and this in the future, and then I kind of like move on to the next thing, and so I like kind of do layers of development, and then some of it is anticipated, like, all right, other artists will fill this in. Like that's how building plans were with plots. We shipped with one of each class, we let the community fill out the rest. Same with city plans. We did a basic city plan for each, community will fill out the rest. And I did the same thing with all these new systems that you guys are seeing. So territories being one of them, and loadouts and unit types, and each of them will probably get a 2.0 pass at some point, where it's like, okay, now that I've experienced a lot of it myself, I've gotten a lot of feedback from the community, I'm going to flesh this out and make sure it covers all the requests that different people threw my way. So territory system is definitely one of those where it's like I've left a lot of foundation for cool ideas I had, but I kind of want to see where the community takes it and what people are hoping for out of it before I take it to the finish line and flesh it out. So territory system will get a big overhaul, so that you guys can expect more out of that. But by default, it was it's basically you can capture anything with a map marker. Let's see. Z Games, thank you for another super chat. It says, once I figured out the black screen on the game, I'm gonna play through with a 40k Imperial Guard roleplay. Thank you, Gaff, for this mod. So the black screen bug was solved with 300A. We had a Bink video, which is like the like the end of, at the end of the game or at the beginning when you start a new game, you get like basically a cutscene, a little like an actual cutscene, not one that we scripted in the game. We had a little tiny one, and it doesn't work unless you have it as a loose file. And because we have no way to detect loose files, and we can't even assume that you're just because you're on PC that you can have loose files, because people who download from Bethesda. So we had to get rid of it. So I had to, in 3.0.0a, I had to get rid of that little video, which I'm really bummed about, because it was really exciting when we figured it out. We were like dreaming, like, oh, where else could we use this? Like, now that we know how to do cutscene videos, but it had to get cut until hopefully somebody can dream me up an F4SE solution to test for files. I think that's something I can ask Dante for, because I think he has it already for transfer settlements. He can already, because he can look for the JSON files. So I think I can bring back Bink videos for future stuff, for at least for F4SE players. But for now, I just cut it. So 3.0.0a patch will get you past that black screen. I assume you're talking about during the Resurgence quest. Commander Wolf Gaming, any chance getting SS have something to do with that awesome charity mod? Probably not. You can, I mean, in theory, you can recruit Trunk as a soldier or a settler. So. Daniel Maloney and Sandy McCormick, thank you for the subscribe. You guys can, you can grab Trunk from that mod and make him a soldier for sure. But that's probably as far as we'll take it. Sonic Phil, Jeebus, 2 more years worth. Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of quest content. Like the one that's probably going to come first. We have a 6th quest for the Nightingales that's probably going to get added to extended. We'll try and squeeze it in the main mod, because we know that anybody who plays through our story has had a lot of time with the Nightingale, so getting that 6th quest would be nice to have it in the core. But I mean, we only have 100 megs worth to work with, and like a good quest like that can take 10-15 megs worth of voice files, so it's got to really be worth it. And we want to make sure you guys have enough room for the utility mods you need. So there's going to be a lot more story content that's going to get gated off to PC only, unfortunately. The Author of Life, will you need to still side with one of the factions over the other, or is it possible to make an uneasy peace between everyone? So it's hard to answer that without spoiling story. So I will I just will say that in the long term, when we're done with, when we say we're done with the mod, you will have the ability to form an alliance with pretty much everyone you meet in the game, in a sense. So that's as much as I'll say without spoiling anything. So sorry, I can't answer your question directly. I don't want to spoil story right now. Like once the mod's been out for a few months, and I'm sure most people watching have experienced the whole story, I can just talk freely about that stuff. But right now, it's very unlikely any of you has made it more than halfway through the story. Or maybe somebody will surprise me, but I'm guessing there's some sort of like showstopper bug at like quest 8 or 9 or something that is waiting for me to fix. So, which we will be hot fixing those. That is actually, if I ever catch up with chat, I'm going to throw that out there of like, hey, any of you guys have any showstopper bugs we should know about? I think some of our alpha testers have been on the ball, poking the forums and like helping you guys get past stuff and reporting bugs to our issue tracker. So I'm guessing we already have all the showstoppers you guys run into are probably already documented. But if I ever catch up to chat, or if you guys want to start throwing those questions out or mentions, feel free, because that is number one priority for myself and SAG working on quest showstoppers. Ken Ross, I missed most of this live stream, so apologies if this was answered. I saw Brothers of Steel heavily featured in the trailer. Will it break after you've destroyed the entire faction? Nope. It would be. I think they ended up being heavily featured in the trailer because they're cool, right? Like, this is why Bethesda leans on Brotherhood in all of their games and all their marketing, because Brotherhood is like, Power Armor just looks awesome, and Power Armor screams Brotherhood. So Joe Wood, thank you for the subscribe. And Stone Mosh, I see I just got followed on Twitch, thank you. But yeah, Brotherhood heavily featured for cool factor. That trailer was a lot of rule of cool in there. Commander Wolf Gaming, idea for you, maybe a Mr. Handy Nuka-Cola themed paint that burps or something when asking for a cola. You could add that to SS somehow. Maybe we'll see a burping Nuka-Cola bot as a soldier one day. Let's see here. One of the things that reminds me of with Conqueror, you basically always use disposable soldiers, and that did not fit our story, right? It did not make sense. Like you're building up the Commonwealth. You're like, people are important was one of the themes of SS2 in general, which is why we put in so many. You know, we have the settler stat system. We have all those, you know, dozens of custom settlers, because it was like people are the driving force. Buildings are, you know, the buildings are part of it, but the people are what's important. That has kind of been the shift between SS1 and SS2. Is like everything's about is about humans, about people. Well, not necessarily humans, characters, and like their lives and stories and how you're impacting them. And so we shifted to, instead of having your soldiers be disposable like they were in Conqueror, Raider theme made way more sense to have, you know, your Raider bodies be, you know, it's just you're throwing them through the meat grinder to win wars. Instead, we went the injury system, and the other side of that, the benefit of that meant that it feels a lot better to have your named characters involved in the war. And so, like, one of the things I love about Conqueror is, like, you can recruit your companions as soldiers effectively. You can recruit all of the settlers you've met. You know, you can recruit Carne Asada into your army. You can recruit I'm trying to think of the other big popular ones, Gremlin. Like, all these people can be your make up your army. And that is, I don't know what made me think of that, but because we were just talking about the Nuka-Cola themed robot that burps. Is that you can basically build an army, just like you can have your HQ staff. You can build an army out of characters that you have grown attached to, and it automatically extends to mod added settlers too. So like any character that can be a settler is automatically eligible to be part of our soldier and HQ systems. Connor Walcott, out of curiosity, is there an option to call our faction the Commonwealth Provisional Government? I haven't read the list of names yet, but that always seemed perfect to me. I don't think that that's a name in there by default, but there is, for people who, you'll find it in the story, but it'll also be, so some of these mechanics that are in the story will also be available eventually outside of the story. You do get to name your faction, and right now we have a handful of predetermined names, but people can mod in more. So just like the pet names that people can inject more, people can inject new faction names. So you can eventually have the Commonwealth Provisional Government as your faction. Yes, I'm sure someone will mod that in. Gemil Pro, following up what Jameson said, I remember a long time ago you mentioned after this you would maybe do a big Starfield story mod if my memory doesn't fail me. Did you change your mind? I mean, like I've said, I'd be open to it, but until I play Starfield, I can't commit to anything. So I like the setting of Starfield appeals to me greatly. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. I love me some Mass Effect. I used to watch Star Trek Next Generation and Voyager like it was my job. So like I love me some sci-fi, and Star Wars, of course. Like some of the modern Star Wars have been a little disappointing, but some of it's been great too. We get the first season of Mandalorian. I am a huge Andor fan, so like I love me some sci-fi. So I could definitely see myself falling in love with Starfield. But you know, who knows when we'll get mod tools. And just because I love a game doesn't mean I necessarily want to mod it. Like I've modded a lot of games over my life, and I've also loved a lot of games and then not modded them. So we'll see. We'll see if Starfield has a pull for me. I think it has to have the right combination. Like Fallout 4 had the right combination of, I absolutely love the setting. It has great foundations, but it had a lot of flaws in some of the systems that I liked. Like I fell in love with the settlement system, but then when I saw how, you know, that it had, it didn't have anything to motivate you to use it, then it was too micromanagey. Ironically, I think like I've replaced with some settlements now, if you turn on all the settings, we've replaced the micromanagement of placing individual items with now you're micromanaging city simulation numbers, which is kind of funny, but that's more my style. I always loved SimCity type games. So long story short, I love the idea of maybe doing a Starfield mod, but I can't comment or commit until I play the game and see if it motivates me to do so. Rick Hensley, could I take over every single settlement in the Commonwealth before acting Chapter 3 war mechanics? Yes, you could. You absolutely could. And then you could just convert settlements over to outposts and whatnot. Modern 42, nukes soon. I will say that during the story, there's an unlock that happens at some point that is the precursor to that. So you'll probably know what I'm talking about when you get to that point in the story. So it's not in yet, but we now have we've steered ourselves in a way where me adding a plot that can launch ICBMs now will fit within our story. I'll just say that. Abduello, can we assign guards for supply caravans? Not yet, but that's been one of my dream features. So like there's a few hooks in there for it right now. But so probably that'll be one of those things like eventually I'm just like, I'm coming down on the bottom of the list of like things I wanted to get in. And then I'll be like, you know what? I didn't feature creep myself hard enough. Let me bring back some of these things that I put on the list and never acted on. So like, I mean, I joked about it. I've joked about it before, but I know my personality enough to know that it'll be a long time. Like it'll be difficult to like pry me away from Fallout 4. And if Bethesda will fix a couple of bugs with the next gen update, I might be a lifer. I might be one of those guys. You know, like you look at those guys who are still modding Morrowind today, and you're just like, damn, dude, damn. I could see myself being that for Fallout 4 if we can just get a few of these engine bugs fixed. So more Q&A than demo tonight. So if you came for the demo, we didn't even get through it all, but I didn't have a proper one planned. I will say that one of the things that I'd been promising since SS2 came out was eventually I wanted to do a deep dive on features. So like back when Conqueror came out, I did like this like huge series of videos. It was like 25 videos where I took each mechanic and I made a dedicated video to it explaining it. So that way somebody who really wants to learn every inch of the mod, don't want to read through wikis, could learn it. That can start to go into production. So that will be, I don't know when we will start that, but like now that we have chapter 3 out and like I know all the mechanics that are coming, I can start, and I know which ones are finalized, I can start making that video series. I didn't want to make it until we were at this point because I didn't want to have to redo that series. I wanted it to be kind of live immortal. So that can go on the docket. So eventually you guys will start getting more videos from me demonstrating features. And I'll do another stream like this that's a little more planned out maybe. Maybe that'll be something I do during the Starfield stream times. I don't know. I'll figure that out. But so my apologies if you came here for the demo and didn't expect so much Q&A. Hopefully I'm answering the thing is without me having like a proper planned out demo, a lot of the demonstration is just going to be all over the place. So it probably is easier for me to just answer questions instead. So I think this is playing out exactly how it needs to based on my lack of preparation for a demo. Nick Carter, going to upgrade any of your hardware for Starfield? Yes, I have a brand new computer sitting next to me that I haven't messed with yet because I got sucked into development. I actually bought it not because I wanted to upgrade for Starfield, but because my computer that I developed on, I thought it died on me. And like, it turned out it just missed home. I took it with me on a little trip and worked on some stuff there because like I there's no rest for me. Like when the wife and kids go to bed, even on vacation, I stay up and mod, and I needed the full power of my computer because my laptop can't handle it. And the computer started wigging out on me there, and I was like, oh god, it died. And I brought it home, plugged it in, and I had a new computer with me, but I'm like, well, I need to get some files off of it, and it worked fine. So now I've got this brand new computer I have not touched, and yes, sometime in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be hooking it up, and it's probably christening will probably come in the form of Starfield. JB, has the SS2 team considered freelancing? But this is an outsourced DLC since you all did so much better. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know where everybody's stance is on that. Like, as far as like as a team, I mean, I don't know that would make any sense. Because there's just everybody on here does a varying amount depending on their availability. It's super, outside of like the couple of weeks before we pick a launch date, it's a pretty low stress environment. Like just kind of everybody works the amount of hours they have, works the amount of time they have. As soon as you get into a situation like you're describing, it gets a little dicier to have a setup like that. So we'll see. The Mata Base. Hey, just catching up to live. King F, you mentioned Starfield. Do you plan to create mods for Starfield? Loving Chapter 3, by the way. Thank you to you and the team for the sweet Fallout 4 mods. I think I answered it just a second ago. But yeah, Starfield, we'll see. I got to play it first, see if I love it or not. Commander Respawn, do you know if the choices in Project Valkyrie work alongside SS2 and Chapter 3 as a whole, or do we need a new save? I don't know anything about those choices. I'm aware that they exist, that they give you new alternate endings. I will say currently, the way our thing reacts to the game is based on vanilla stages. So we look for certain quests in the game to be at certain points, and we react to those. So something like Project Valkyrie probably changes those or offers paths around those stages. I am open to switching us over to globals, which can be more easily manipulated. So right now we're doing everything on stages, but like once I sit down and have a discussion with SAG, who did most of this implementation, we can modify a lot of that. And instead of testing for stages, we can set up a script that says, all right, if those stages are done, set this variable instead, and we'll use that variable. And then people could make a patch mod for something like Project Valkyrie to set those variables. And we kind of have that already, but there's another layer to it. So SAG, if you're watching, you might be thinking, oh, I already have all those ally variables. There's another layer before that we would need to sort out. So I hope that in the future, on a long enough timeline, with enough interested mod authors or patchers, that we'll get to a situation like that. That's the goal. But right now, we don't know anything about those mods, and we did not have time to dig into them. And we tend to, our thing tends to be like, rather than trying to patch in stuff to work with other mods, like let's just get out of their way. So we set up as many systems to like, we don't touch vanilla records. We put in mechanisms to turn off our stuff. We put in like the bypass, like we have the hijack system where anytime we add a new doorway somewhere, there's a switch to turn it off right nearby. So that way we don't impact other people's stuff negatively. And so we're kind of relying on anything more in depth than that. Like we want to just stay out of their way, but if they want to get involved with us, they'll have the freedom to do so. But we're relying heavily on patchers to do that. People who are just like love both mods. Like this, I'm very, very pro something like the Story Wealth Collection, because that's kind of what they're doing. They're trying to find ways to make all of these stories coexist and intermingle. And that's kind of what we got to rely on, because it takes all of our free time just to like finish out and flesh out the features that we have or that we have planned. So to then take that time and try and learn the infrastructure of somebody else's mod too, like it's not very realistic with the amount of time we have available, unfortunately. Gorgon blog, will ROTC Chapter 2 get an update to fix the bugs on those city plans? Maybe bring back the complex versions for the city plans as well. Complex versions definitely won't come back. As far as bugs on those city plans, it's hard to say. I would say unlikely. We need to create some tools to make updating city plans easier. But what I think instead is more likely to happen is folks will just start picking community-made city plans that are less buggy, that are and I don't even know it depends on what bugs you're talking about, because like to me bugs in city plans are like floating items. If there's bugs that are causing like huge negative gameplay problems, that's a different story. But if it's just like, like the float, like I think one of the biggest problems we have in some of the RTC designs is we have plots that ended up stacked on top of each other because they were pointed the wrong direction in like level 2, and that didn't get caught when we were cleaning them up. Or like we might have had power connectors attached to building plots, which was, obviously a no-no, because then if a different building plan gets selected, then all of a sudden you've got a connector floating in the air. So it really depends on what you mean by bugs. I feel like that was a Bill Clinton answer. Depends on what your definition of is. Segovia, there are going to be new city plans made by the dev team. There are actually 3 new city plans made by Mr. Strong Swanson, who was one of the principal designers on their ROTC. So there are 3 new plans. They get introduced to you in the story very, very early on too. But that'll probably be it from us. I don't anticipate us doing any more city plans. Connect 82. You're answering somebody else about Conqueror Story. Yeah, Conqueror Story is not part of Chapter 3. I really want to finish it and port it forward. I will say that there is no way in hell I don't, on my own, port it just like out of curiosity. Be like, how much work would this be, and start messing with it. Whether the story gets completed is heavily reliant on the voice actors. Like, I know a couple of them that would be gung-ho to come back. Aiden's voice actor, Jammer's voice actor. But then others, like Pandora's voice actress is like, now she's fully pro. She does big titles and stuff. Getting her back might have to hire her, might have to turn it into a work for hire. And then as soon as we do that for one person, it's kind of like, all right, then we got to do it for everybody. It gets into sketchy territory. So like, I don't know how we're gonna do it. And then one of the voice actress for Ophelia, just like disappeared for a while. We got in touch with her about a year ago, and like she said, like, you know, life had its ups and downs, and she had some stuff going on, so we don't know if she'd be even interested anymore. So it's tough to say. Like, finishing the Conqueror story, like I would commit to it personally 100% over on a long enough timeline, but it's not all me. So I will say we have most of the story written now. So like we have to do a little bit more on the tail end. Like, there's some cleanup stuff, and if we did it proper, we would want to have a few crossover scenes where it's like, all right, there's no way, because Aiden is the antagonist in that, and he's a protagonist, a very important protagonist in SS2. There's no way we can have you able to play both stories. So every playthrough, you'd have to choose one story or the other. But we would like, at the point, like the crossing point where it was like, okay, this is the point of no return, where like Aiden is your friend or your foe. We would have to have scenes in there to be like, to make the player choose. And so like that needs to happen. So there's like a lot of, the stars kind of have to align for Conqueror to happen. Let's see. Slingo, will you be editing the loading screens? Kind of immersion breaking to takeovers. You only have loads, say this owned by the Gunners. That is one of those things where I would love to see somebody patch. If any of you out there would be interested in making a load screen overhaul, that's something I won't put in the base mod because it involves editing vanilla records. But yeah, like adding new load screens for our events has been one of those like wish list things that I've had on the board, and I've presented it, but nobody on the team has been excited to do that, and I don't have the time for. So like, that's a kind of thing where it doesn't require any technical knowledge. It's very easy to set up, and I try to avoid those tasks myself. And it's a creative, because you gotta do some writing, so it's like would not make sense for me to do it. And nobody on the team has brought it up or been excited about it, so it's kind of one of those things that's just sat in limbo of hopefully somebody will patch it one day, because I agree with you, that would be cool, but not high on the priority list. Jack Martin, how do medical supplies work? Are disease cures worthless now? So disease cures are just another part of that system. You don't need them in the same way. The one thing disease cures do is they cut the cost down dramatically. So, all right, so let me see if I can find a sick person or an injured person. I can show you guys the system. Actually, it'll be on the Manage Soldier menu. Let's see if this guy happens to have any problems. No. There's console commands to trigger a disease outbreak, but I don't remember them offhand. Let me see. I probably have an injured soldier over here from combat. So there's the new medical system uses the supply resources, and it does it. Basically what it does is allows you to instant treat anybody for diseases and injuries. You just have to pay a heavy supply cost in the form of chems. And the disease cures still work like they always did, so you can shortcut and do for the cost of a single disease cure, treat someone with a disease. You can also use disease cures as a supply resource, so they can just count as a cure. Like there's a subtype of chems called cure, and they can just count as one of those, or they can work as a shortcut to cost one resource to cure a disease, because otherwise the cost for cures, the supplies, the higher the level of the disease, the more supply resources it will cost to cure them. So it can get quite expensive. So disease cures still have a value. They're just not quite the same as they used to. And I think most people will find it a welcome change in that the medical system allows them to use whatever random chems they have laying around to cure people, so they don't have to hunt down disease cures, because that's early game can be kind of painful. So, it kind of neuters the early game of the system, but it does have a long-term use still. The disease cures and like the researching the cures still has value, just less value than it did prior. But yeah, unfortunately, none of my guys are injured, and I don't have the console commands handy. I do. This is one of my favorite features of the territories. We actually created an AI package that I think works pretty good. That makes your guys actually find all of the animation markers in an area and use them just like the previous occupants. And the more of them you have, the more of the markers they'll use. We also have a dynamic patrol system set up, so some of them will just kind of like wander the area. I really like the territories. To me, came out really good for the fact that this is just like level 1 of what I anticipate the territory system being. And it definitely is going to have a 2.0, if not a 3.0 overhaul to add even more depth to it. But yeah, going back to the medical thing, the disease cures aren't completely worthless, but their utility is greatly reduced when there's all these other, with the new medical system. So the new medical system, I think, is a lot easier to use. But yes, it does degrade disease cures a little bit. Gotcha. Does Sim Settlements 2 have its own ending? If you mean its own ending in the sense of defeating one of the factions, no. So we kind of took the approach of Fallout 4's main quest is a side quest to SS2's story. So because to me that was kind of like one of the things I wanted the settlement gameplay and the motivations around them to have. To be kind of central, to have a story where that was the center. And so and the way it played out was like, okay, well then in the way our story is rolling out, the conflict between Institute, Railroad, and Brotherhood is secondary to the conflict that we created. It's like that is some of the locals fighting over nothing compared to the threat that we're bearing down. So it kind of ended up being that yeah, we have our own ending because we introduced a bigger threat. And we, at one point in the Chapter 3 story, you'll be presented with we don't tell you directly to do it, but we imply that, hey, you should help these factions sort out their differences. And, one of the ways to do that is to nuke to nuke the Institute that sort of their differences. Cause now, Brotherhood's in charge or Railroad's in charge. So we kind of we let you do whatever you want. But we do not provide an alternate ending to that because that doesn't make sense in our story. Instead, we tell you to just go deal with it how you want. And then the base game already offers you those options. Or, hopefully like you guys mentioned, some of the guys have mentioned Project Valkyrie. And I think there's another mod that adds like a peaceful solution of hopefully we can eventually react to those as well. To where whatever crazy combinations of endings you guys have had, we would like to be able to react to that. So that way, basically anybody that you have created peace with, we would like you to have as an ally available in our story as well. Carvac, been having a blast. Good to hear, man. I can't wait to see what you guys do with the City Plan contest when we get to Outposts. Jack Graves, are assaults on Far Harbor and Nuka World possible? Yes, you would, because of the outpost range limitation, you would need to set up an outpost in those locations first. There is, for any of you who have played through HQ a lot, we have the interworld space unlocks. If we don't already have one for assaults, we will add one. I probably have it on my to-do list. I don't think that made it in for launch. But there will, the ability to do an assault across world space will be added in as an HQ unlock. You just do a research for it. Oscar Fry, since SS2 is now done, will we be able to use Jake Gun still or no? I mean, you can always steal it from him, right? Okay, I finally caught up. I caught up to chat. It's a miracle. Oh, nope, there's one more. Dover Dude, is there a fix for the glitch where you can't clean anything? I talked about this a while ago. You must have missed my response to you. I'm not aware of. Oh, you had to go do something. Yeah, I'm not aware of that glitch. I don't know anything about it. Most of our testers haven't run into it, but I have heard other people mention it. I just don't know what would be causing it because we can't replicate it. So, but I am going to be doing a deep dive on HQ for an HQ 3.0 patch at some point, and hopefully, I will. In doing whatever code changes are necessary to clean up, I will incidentally fix whatever's bothering you. So I don't know why it would be happening though. All right, let me think. Is there anything? Okay, so I'm going to posit two questions because I can go for another, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes of hanging out. I will posit 2 questions to y'all. One, outside of Dova's bug and the bugs that we've run into on the stream so far, has any of you guys run into any showstoppers in quests, like in the new quests and Chapter 3 quests? Don't try and do it without spoiling, folks. Just tell me the name of the quest that you that got stuck on, and then we'll try and figure it out from there of how you guys can tell me. But I'm really interested in showstoppers on quests right now, because that's going to be like one of the things we focus on for the next week or two. And then the second thing would be, is there anything you guys want me to show you right now or talk about in more in depth with the new mechanics? Is there anything like with soldiers or loadouts or assaults or captures or the new supplies, anything like that you guys want me to try and show you without talking about story content or showing it to you? That's the only, I'm trying to avoid that at all costs, because you guys have had less than 24 or just over 24 hours with the mod. I don't want to spoil things for you guys. Reckonsley, what's the switch for Chapter 3 war mechanics? Is it placing the new desk or something within the new desk in the terms of settlements? Yeah, as soon the switch to turn on the mechanics is to build or convert an outpost. So as soon as you build a war planner's desk, it'll say let's go to war, and if you say yes, let's go to war, you have enabled the new war mechanics. So you've enabled the raid system, you've enabled soldier recruitment, all sorts of stuff. Now the desk by default only unlocks during the story. If you want to unlock it before that, you have to use the holotape to cheat and do tool unlock. Originally we had it set up so that the desk started unlocked, and then it was like, just like the city manager desk, we start that unlock so you can do city plans. We originally had that for the war planner's desk as well, but from both people on the team and testers, we kept getting that they were, when they were experimenting with it without context, when they didn't understand what they were doing, it was very confusing because it unlocks so many mechanics. Whereas the city plan, it's pretty simple, right? You just say build a plan and that's it. Like, it doesn't, there's not this massive layer of complexity. But having the war planner's desk start available would be a lot like letting you like establish HQ from the beginning of the game. It would be way too much for most people. So we locked it behind the cheat holotape. Like, we do intend on supporting it as a start of the game feature, but we want to make sure that you know what you're doing. So it's only, it's not unlocked by default. How do I set it up to make an army of robots? Just build an outpost, make a robot workbench, and start conscripting those robots. I think the conscript feature on the recruitment clipboard should work. So I guess I can show you that right now. And then we can test it. But I see, like, our XV was doing it all the time in testing, so I assume that this doesn't require much to do. So let's go ahead and, I don't have it unlocked. I never did Automatron on here. Does anybody know what the console commands are to unlock Automatron? If you could tell me that, I could show you. But in theory, you just build an Automatron bot, equip your recruitment clipboard, which you can craft at the war planner's desk, or you get them at several points during our quest line. They are handed to you. Walk up to your robot and talk to them, and you should see this is already a soldier, so it didn't show up. On a non-soldier, so that would be a robot or some NPC that you haven't conscripted yet, you'll have a conscript option at the top of the dialogue wheel. Should show up for automatrons as well. Let's see. Was there any quick skip early tutorial introduced for the chapter 1? No, there's just the cheat holotape. You can skip past blocks of quests. I know a lot of people now skip right to where there's smoke, because that's kind of where the story graduates from. Graduates just from tutorial type stuff to actually having like conflict. Before that, it's there's some very I will say chapter 3 pays off on pretty much everything. Like almost every bit of lore that you've learned throughout from chapter 1 on, like there's payoff for it throughout chapters 2 and 3. So it's a lot of that stuff that seemed just tutorially, outside of like, here, place that ASAM on the ground somewhere. Like outside of that basic level, like most of the dialogue you've heard has a payoff somewhere down the line, which I really like. Which is why writing took so long. Like literally, Sarik was writing story until June, I want to say. So, because there's just so many things of like all these like little loose ends. We're like, we got to handle that. We got to make sure there's a payoff for that, etc. Choo Choo, sorry, was at work and missed it if you answered earlier, but we finally be getting the LAT tutorials for HQ stuff. I don't know what that is. You mean late tutorials? I don't know what that means, but here I can show you guys this. So we made this preparing for war holotape. It's handed to you during the main quest line, but you can also craft it so that you can just play around. If you run this holotape, this is something I mentioned earlier in the stream and was going to get to, and I forgot. So if you run this preparing for war holotape, there are a series of, so first it says okay, tells you about the war tutorials. All right, so in chapters 1 and 2, you periodically while you're playing, you get pop-ups, right? And I like them the first time that you play. I hate them on subsequent playthroughs because then it's like, yeah, I know about diseases. I know about this. And then you start spamming them, right? You just get them out of my way. The problem with that is you might accidentally spam past something you didn't mean to. Maybe there was, another mod had a question for you that was important, or maybe an unlock you weren't ready for came up and you okayed right past it because you were trying to spam through these notifications that we give you. So for chapter 3, or 3.0, the new mechanics, all of the messages that would normally teach you stuff are now part of these tutorial quests. So when you first launch this, you will not see all of these options unless you did what I did and used the holotape to unlock everything. Then you unlock all these tutorials immediately. When you're handed the holotape during our quest line, there will just be a few here, and then more will unlock as you go. And we tried to put them on order, and there's we have notes from our testers that I need to go over in depth to get feedback on, and we'll get more feedback from you guys about some of these we need to have more overlap between them with objectives, but let's just run one. Like we just run supplies here. And as soon as you click it and you exit out, oh, did it not work? Oh, there it goes. Okay, you can cancel tutorial quests you don't wish to complete by selecting it from the menu. And then it'll start these pop-ups, and then it'll give you little objectives to do things so that you're slowly introduced to that. So supplies, it's going to teach us first about supply storage. So that's what we talked about earlier, and it's going to give us an objective to build a supply storage locker. And so basically it'll just take you through those mechanics and give you objectives that are adjacent to that mechanic so that you slowly start learning more about it, and you'll kind of find your way through the interfaces. And there's a whole holotape full of those. So the reason I bring this up in response to Choo Choo's question is I would like to go back and do this for chapters 1 and 2 mechanics as well. I think that these are this is not, I'm going to wait. First I'm going to polish up this preparing for war and make sure that we got them in a good order and that they're clear and that in general people like them. And then once I'm happy with the format, we'll go back and add it in for HQ and for plots. Because I think it gives an opportunity for some little quest bonuses or some quest rewards. You complete them and you do get a quest reward for completing them. You can complete them as many times as you want. So if you forget Rusty on a mechanic, you can go back and run that again. So I think having that available for HQ and for plots would be a good idea. The other thing I think it'll be useful for, especially with HQ, is we'll be able to take away the information dump that happens to you during How to HQ. I think that is what inspired this, is like we watched so many people crash and burn in chapter 2 because of How to HQ, so that we tried to learn from that lesson and be like, all right, we need another way to give players this information in a little more digestible format. So now all of it is like it's on demand. You do get the story dump still in our quests where like the characters will explain all the different things, and you'll get some unlocks, like you'll trigger like new plot class unlocks during story, but we don't ask you to mess with most of it. It's like optional objectives, or like there's a couple where it's like I think we make you build a military training and like rank up a soldier because we need you to rank them up high enough to use one of our loadouts. Like that's as far as we make you do as far as stuff in the main quest for like tutorial-y type things. Otherwise it's like most of it is through this holotape as optional. So that's the route we're going for tutorials for HQ, Choo Choo, if that answers your question. Jack Martin, could you show us more about supplies? Sure. So let's pop into here. So on the right there, now I don't have the full supplies loaded out. If you're playing in full complexity, we broke out the supplies into subtypes. Now we didn't want to go crazy like scrap because that's just too much. Managing 31 scrap types and then another 30 or so supply types would have like broke most people's brains. So instead we broke them out in what felt natural. So like ammo is ballistic energy explosive, armor is like makeshift standard heavy power armor. So like they went with like things that just felt natural. And then you can donate those things and they fill in. Now, one of the spaces that we need filled by a mod author, and I think XV might be able to help us with this where we can do it naturally, is there's no default way to classify those. Like there's no like keyword that means heavy armor, for example. That's just kind of like an objective thing. You look at it and you're like, yeah, that feels like heavy armor. And we just made that determination for the vanilla stuff. But for like DLC and mod added equipment, I don't remember how we handle it. We either handle it as the lowest type. So like each one has a value. So it's like ballistic is worth less than energy, which is worth less than explosive, etc. So there's kind of a tier system there. And I think for unknown stuff, we count it as the lowest. So it's like unknown ammo counts as ballistic, unknown armor counts as makeshift, etc. And so like we'll need some sort of either we need some sort of script system or script solution, or we need add like a patch mod to handle that for all that equipment. But this idea with supplies is when you donate stuff, it'll naturally fall into the appropriate column. So if you donate random ammo, it's going to fall into the appropriate type of ammo that you would expect it to. And the supplies, the high level is ammo is used to run assaults, armor and weapons are used to load out your soldiers, and chems are used to handle medical issues. So whether they be diseases or injuries. And the supplies will also end up being used for occasional other things. So occasionally some other type of supplies might be used for, so like I'll give you a bit of a story spoiler, and I'm not talking any of the story moment, but something that gets unlocked during the story is you have a medic unit or a medic loadout. It's a loadout now. It's probably going to switch to a unit later. But you get a medic loadout, and that will end up with, and I think it has it now, but this is a rare exception. It has some chems as part of its recruitment cost, because obviously like a medic's going to need chems. And so like there will be little exceptions, but for the most part, our rule of thumb is ammo is for assaults, armor and weapons are for loadouts, and chems are for medical issues. And like, so then if you need, so then you can kind of focus, like it's like, I'm going to be doing a lot of assaulting. Okay, then gather up a lot of ammo. I want my soldiers to be geared to the teeth. All right, focus on a lot of armor and weapons. Or if I want the medical system to be on and I want it to be a challenge, then focus a lot on chems. So you have kind of the options of how you want to do things. CNC97, thank you for the super chat. No message there, but I appreciate the donation. So that's kind of the high level of supplies. And there'll be stuff that we mess with later in the future. So HQ actually has supply support. Armory rooms are what increases the max. So if you're playing with the full HQ rules on, you're familiar with like the max scrap logistics, and now we have supply security. So security team has an extra purpose now in HQ. They deal with supplies. That'll be one of those things that we explain in the future tutorial system, like I just showed you guys with the holotape. So right now it's just not explained because we don't use it much. But the plan long term is to, with HQ, to add in supply usages as well. So there'll be like the science department can use the chems. Security department can use some of those other things. So we'll have more tie-ins with that. HQ is one of those things that like my first job is to make you guys all love it. And then I'll start adding more content to it. And maybe the two have to be married. Maybe it's like until I add cool content or more cool content, you guys won't love it. Because there is some really cool stuff in there. People who have gotten into it deep enough know about the cool stuff you can do with it. But I know HQ is like a 50-50 shot of you hating it right now. But we'll get there. We'll get there because I've seen the potential of what a good HQ system can look like in some other games. And I know the potential is there. We just gotta get the rough patches out of your way. And I think the first step is going to be full automation. Let the department heads do it for you, and then it'll be all upside to you and not headache. So supplies, so that's kind of the general use for them. Your max supplies is determined by you have separate storage for supplies and junk. For junk, or scrap, I should say, we call it scrap and supplies. So the default storage for scrap comes from industrial plots, and you can build additional with these like shipping crates, and then we've got these smaller crates and these little tiny crates. And then for supplies, it's lockers we have for these, and we could add in more of these in the future. So if we determine that, so I think this is by 1,000. The scale of supplies is going to be much lower than scrap. in general right now. Like that's just the way we balance the numbers. We want it to just be a much lesser thing, because for a lot of you guys, you're going to be handling this with manual donations, and then as you go, you'll start getting more and more. What you'll find as you get deep into it, you'll find the battlefield scavengers will deliver you just crazy amounts of resources from an assault, to where it's like all profit to run assaults on places. Is that what you'll find eventually? But in the early game of your empire, most of your supplies are coming out of your pocket. So from looting bodies and donating that stuff. So the numbers are generally much smaller, but we'll be doing some sort of big balance patch for that eventually. Like it's one of those things where until we get all the systems surrounding it more fleshed out, I think I talked about earlier that I kind of like to do like build the mod up in layers. So we're at layer 1 now for a lot of these systems that use supplies, and there will be, as we start fleshing it out and feeling it out. Like it was like when we originally had development and we were discussing the supplies, they didn't have these distinct purposes of like ammos for assaults and chems are for medical. It was kind of like I like the idea of this high level new resource type that's like manufactured products, as opposed to junk, like elements, like components. And we had this rough idea, but we didn't have it all fleshed out of where each thing was going to go. It was just like, oh, they're all military themed things. And so like now that we've got it fleshed out to like this idea of like, okay, assaults use ammo, etc. Like that's like the first step of where it'll make it easier for us to start balancing things. But there's still some more layers to the mechanics that are coming. And like the units and loadouts are going to be a big one where it'll help, and HQ, another one where it'll help us flesh out supplies some more. So for now, I think, to answer your question, showing you about supplies, it's like, your max cap comes from martial plots and building these, and then it's those 3 high level categories. Collect ammo if you want to do a lot of assaults. Collect armor and weapons if you want to do, if you want to make sure your soldiers are all loaded out, and collect chems if you're playing with the medical system engaged. Slingo, I just ran into a showstopper. Flickering, the thing keeps despawning, and Aiden won't speak to you. Okay, I think that one is already on the list. The flickering bugs. I know it was mentioned in chat this morning, so I think that one's on the list. But thank you for mentioning it. Any of you guys who are, if you're running into showstopper bugs in chapter 3 and you really want to expedite us fixing them, the best thing you can do is show people on the forums how to recreate it. Like if you can if you can spin up a save with just SS2 installed in Workshop Framework and recreate it, like, you can use the quest skipping to cheat yourself right to the quest that you're having problems with, and then recreate it, then that gets instantly put on our tracker. Like no more convincing is necessary, because we can just take your save file and watch it happen, and then it very quickly will get fixed then. So if you're the type who likes to experiment and figure stuff out, and you want to see your issues fixed quickly, like that's the best thing you can do. Otherwise, just bring them to our attention is a good start. Would Fall UI be an example of a showstopper? I had issues with it with chapter 2. I don't know what that means. I don't know Fall UI. Is Fall UI the one where you can't pause the game anymore? Is that the one that's like the Dark Souls thing? Is that what that is? I don't know what Fall UI is, so I can't answer that question. But I will say in general, we don't consider mod incompatibilities a showstopper, because it's pretty hard for us to be compatible with every mod. But we intentionally don't edit anything vanilla, so that we can generally say, like, if another mod is conflicting with ours, it's their fault. That's kind of the idea, because we didn't break anything, we didn't change anything vanilla. So that's kind of where we stand on that. That's kind of been like one of my design principles that I make the rest of the team follow. Like, we can't do vanilla edits because we do not want to be responsible for patching. Like, mods who do a lot of vanilla edits have to have like a billion little sub patches for all the different conflicts they create, and we didn't want to be in that boat. It's not fun. I'll do a little Minutemen Radiant Squads has a system where you can send out Minutemen squads to deal with settlements being attacked when you can't reach them yourself. Any plans something similar? Absolutely, yeah. that's something that we would like to see the HQ capable of doing. That would be one of the goals there. And then once we have that system, I mentioned that one of my plans to make you guys all love HQ instead of just some of you is automation. So then in the system where we have that capability, Aiden would just be able to run that project automatically and be like, oh, Radiant Quest came up. Aiden just runs a project to send a team to take care of it for you. So then you could ignore it if you want. Like the ultimate idea of HQ is like, over time you can build up enough infrastructure, resources, and policies for your staff, and having enough staff that you can automate away any element of the game that bothers you. It's like kind of the idea where you feel like you earned your way out of it. It's kind of like the design principles of something like Factorio, where it's like what's the 3D version, Satisfactory, where like you have these problems and eventually you can automate your way out of them. It's like kind of the idea of HQ. Let's see. Keldane, can you unlock the Warplaner's desk through MCM as well, or only through the holotape? I don't know if do we have the cheats in MCM? I don't remember. Let's check. MCM, I tend to not put utilities in MCM. I tend to use MCM only for the options, just because MCM has some oddities about it when I put tools in here, so I end up not putting them all in here. But yeah, I think the cheats are only available in the holotape. It's just way easier to run scripts from the holotape than it is from MCM. Kane, can you explain vassalage? When pre-built update comes out, will you have war against settlements through this system? So I will say vassalage right now, because it's piggybacking on the Nuka World system, it will make the settlers there talk to you like you're a raider. But I remember for Conqueror, we figured out a way around that, and I have to dig into Conqueror and figure it out. So for right now, vassalage feels like you're a villain, but that's not the intention. The intention is to make it can be that way. We've been putting under the hood. It's not enabled yet. It's one of those plans for a future layer of having a kind of a morality system where your decisions kind of set you up as like you're kind of a raider type figure versus a liberator. So kind of the Conqueror Liberator thing we had in Conqueror. But we want that to emerge organically. In fact, we have all these like sub layers to that where it's not so black and white, but a certain element of it will be black and white. And then that's when the dialogue from NPCs will start to get like kind of treating you like you're hated as opposed to loved. So the idea with vassals in Nuka World is you would have your outpost where your raiders lived, and they would attack a settlement and make it into a vassal that had to pay tributes to them. And then every day you would get like a payment from them. And in ours, it's the same kind of idea, but from the good guy perspective of instead of it being that they're paying you tribute, they're helping the war effort is kind of the way we look at it. And so so what the idea is every time when you vassalize a settlement, so if we go to attack it and make a vassal, so I don't know if we have enough warriors to do it right now. Let's see, because I just sent most of them over. Yeah, warriors needed to attack because we took most of them and took over the place over there. If you run a vassal attack, it plays the exact same way as a normal attack, except that if your player, if the decisions you've made based on our these ideology mechanics, which we introduce in the story, and by default we flag you as a good guy. You're morally good by default, and like the mechanisms to make you morally bad are not even available to you guys yet. So everybody will be good. In that case, when you go to attack settlers, we basically make it like they're subjugated by a bad guy. So you'll show up and there'll be like raiders there, or there'll be gunners there, and you are freeing them from them. You're liberating them. And then by doing so, they pledge themselves to the war. And then based on their plot makeup, they will produce supplies for you every day. So I don't remember how the breakout goes from what plot type generates what resources, but basically you'll get some amount of chems, ammo, armor, and weapons every day from people you vassalize. But the trade-off there is that settlement remains independent. Now there is an override option for that. So you can make it so that you still control the settlement, even though it's a vassal, and you'll gain. You kind of get best of both worlds there. Then, so not only if you turn off that option, let me find what it's called. You get to double dip. You not only get the supply every day, but you also get them sharing their resources on your network. So it's meant to be a trade. You know, either you get food, water, scrap, caps from them, or you get supplies. It's not meant to be both, but there is an option for both. Across the board, I'm always like, you guys know the type of experience you want better than I do, so I'm going to give you the freedom to create whatever crazy stuff combo you want. So if we go down to the... Uh-oh, where's the war system? Uh-oh. The war system is blocked off. Okay, well, I got a bug for tomorrow. I got to fix that. There's a whole host of war options, and that's supposed to be in the holotape, but either I forgot to hook that menu into the thing here. I'll put that on my list. Or missing. It's probably an MCO, so we'll check there next. From a holo. Either I conditioned it wrong, or I forgot to hook it into the main menu. But there's a whole host of war options. So let's go into MCM then. So that'll be one of those things that gets probably into the next hotfix, because it'll take me 15 seconds to fix. It was just an oversight. So if we go into mod config here, we go to some settlements too, and we go down to gameplay. And what people always ask when they see my MCM screen is, whoa, you can play with SS1? No, that's just MCM always loads all its files that it has in the directory, whether or not you're playing with them. So we go way down here to war, which will have a big old section. Here we go. So what is it? I'm trying to remember what it's called. Control vassals. If you turn that to on, you get to double dip. You get to have all of the supply tributes generated, and you get to have shared food, water, etc. on them. So that is the way vassals work, is you're trading out the economy resources for your war resources. That is the idea. And then the second half of your question, Kane, comes out while you have war against settlements through this system. Yeah, that's kind of the idea, is you would have different factions would set up with the pre-build system, like maybe there'll be like a small raider empire, and then that you can go to war with them. Excuse me. I got about 20 minutes left to me, guys, so my voice is giving out. And it's getting late for me. But Jack Ray is really minor and could be something else. But my settlers keep saying they don't have enough beds, even if there's more residential spots and extra manually placed beds. So that is a vanilla bug. They only count beds that have shelter. They are looking for beds. The dialogue is looking for beds that that pass the shelter rule. And unfortunately, it's very unreliable. It's they're looking for, is there cover over them? But that's not a reliable system. So like that's the bug they would have to fix. Or I mean, someone could patch that. There would be a very easy way to patch. If anybody wants to make that patch, I can give you the rough. I can walk you through the rough pattern. Just DM me on Discord or the forums, wherever you have access to talk to me. I can show you how to make a patch to make the AI acknowledge every bed and not just sheltered ones. Choo-choo, is there a way to convert a soldier back to a normal settler after recruited? There is, but right now it's a pain in the butt. I do need to, that is on my list of quality of life stuff of making it easier, but right now, here's the workaround. So if you accidentally made someone a soldier, or you need to reduce your soldier count for some reason, here's the workaround. Equip your recruitment clipboard. Okay, we already got it equipped. Send the soldier to be an HQ worker. So we're gonna talk to him, and we're gonna say, work at HQ.
Want to work for me?
Send them to GNN. And then once they convert out of a soldier, it should take a moment here. Let's see if it happened already.
You know that old insane asylum? Stay away from it. People who poke around up there don't come back.
Thank you.
Hey there.
What do you need?
Okay, well, once they finish converting to an HQ worker, you can send HQ workers back to a settlement. So that's the workaround right now.
Like a decent enough
we
place.
will add something to the manage soldier menu that's like unconscript, or whatever an immersive term for that will be. So for now, you can send them to HQ, and then once they finish conversion, as you guys know, anything with settler assignment is slow as hell. It's got to unassign them from all the things they own and then do a transfer. So that might take a couple minutes. So it's not an ideal situation. We definitely have that on our list to do so that you can convert people back and forth. Keldane, set stage, DLC 01, MO1 3000 should get you what you want. Alright, I can try that in a second. Let me find, where'd that settler go? Because I'm guessing they just started wandering toward GNN. Oh, did they just get, they probably got teleported. I'm not sure where they went. So anyway, that is the way you can, once, oh, is that them? No, that's that guy. That's a different guy. That's our patrol guy. And what does his patrol say? Did that ever get fixed or is it still messed up? No, still invalid location. Let's try changing his patrol route and see if we can fix it. We'll send you to, sure, Green Top. Oh, now it worked. Worked the second time. I don't know why it didn't hold the first time. Might be some funky bug with if you do it while they're in a territory, it doesn't work. But now he should walk back and forth between here and Green Top. That was one of the first things we set up in the new, when we were porting the mechanics over, to set up patrols, because that's one of my favorite features for like eye candy. It feels so fun to just be wandering around the Commonwealth and seeing your guys patrolling around. All right, let's see if I can get this console command to do its thing. All right, yep, now build a robot workbench. All right, let's go ahead and build ourselves a robot workbench, and we'll make sure I'm not talking out my butt when I say you can just recruit your automatrons. So find somewhere green to put this. There we go. All right, I don't know if I have enough resources, but we'll try. Oh yeah, I got plenty. All right, we'll just build, let's see, what do we want here? I do not use this system very often, so I am the worst possible person to test this. How do I change the base bot? What do I do for that? No, not cancel. Oh, did that say I lack the requirements? Isn't there a way to change like the like I don't want Protectron legs, I want Sentry Bot. How do I get that? Alright, no, we're just gonna build the base bot. You lack the requirements. Okay. Alright, well, we're not gonna do it because I don't want to sit here typing in commands to add in all those resources to my inventory right now. I'm a little too tired for that, sorry. But in theory, you should be able to just recruit them, conscript them just like a normal settler. Oh, Choo-Choo, you were talking about last tutorials for HQ for content creation. Yeah, no, I have not finished those, but they are on my radar of things I need to do. I don't have a timeline for you. Obviously, like first step right now is just let's get everybody through Chapter 3 story, so everybody can have a satisfying conclusion, and then we'll start worrying about all the things that keep us doing replays over and over again. See your thing from 30 minutes ago. You sent me on such a tangent. That's part of my MO here, man. I'm here for tangents. Is there a mayor besides Dance that has a Brotherhood ally trait? I don't think so. I'm sure there's plenty in the add-on. There's several add-ons that add new traits to people. Nick Carter, were you the one that found the nav cut bug? Yes, I was. That was so. The way I figured it out was I had an inkling there was a problem. For those of you, if any of you have played Flicker and Lights, I will just refer to the Neil thing. When we were working with the Neil thing, it kept breaking and we couldn't understand why. It was like Neil would not go where we wanted him to ever. At first he would, and then when we started testing in a real playthrough, he wouldn't, and we couldn't figure it out for the longest time. And then I started working on a quest later that ended up had very similar behavior to our Neil problem when we had it, and then just like it didn't make any sense, and then on a whim I thought about the way the layout of part of HQ is compared to this cell I was having that problem in. I'm trying to talk about this abstract enough to not spoil any story. But basically I found that there was a location in another cell we were working with that was like exactly the same position as part of HQ, as part of the basement. And like I went there to HQ and disabled the item that was at that location, came back to the other cell, and all of a sudden the NPC could path. And that's when it like, and then I started like, okay, now I need reproduction steps. And then I figured out the whole thing with like Vault 111 happens to have a spot that overlaps with home plate. And then so then people were able to reproduce it who knew how to fix it. So it was like pure dumb luck that I discovered it. Like if it weren't for like really Neil, you guys can thank Neil for finding the Navcut bug. And yes, there is a way to save Neil. So work harder at puzzling, guys. I'm sure that someone will put out a spoiler soon for how to get past the Neil thing. Lady Raincloud, why use a leveled list instead of scripted injection, since a leveled list can have conflicts and require a little bit more skills from the player to resolve conflicts? I'm not sure how to answer that. So like the power of leveled lists is randomization, and so like injection is like, yeah, I don't know how to answer your question. So like we use leveled lists to offer randomization, and then injection adds more randomization to a leveled list. So it's kind of like you can't have one without the other. You can't have scripted injection without leveled lists. So I don't understand the question. We want leveled lists so we can have randomization. Choo-Choo, will your weekly stream be resuming now? That is the plan, yes. I don't know when I'm going to start the playthrough because I don't want to spoil it for you guys. So it might maybe I'll start the playthrough after Starfield comes out, because that will give you guys something to something worth tuning in for, maybe, as opposed to like, well, instead of choosing to play Starfield during those hours of your night. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet, what I'm going to do during the Starfield time, like after Starfield comes out, if I'm going to stream it or stream Sim Settlements, or when I'm going to do my playthrough. But we'll find stuff. I have quite the rotation of things I can do now, whether it be speed modding or bug fixing or whatever. I'm just not ready to, or we could go back and keep working on the hardcore playthrough. Because that's still at like, we're at like quest 6 of chapter 1, so plenty more to go before I get to chapter 3 there. That might be a good use of that time. Starhammer ReHQ, what was the reference that got deleted? Did you ever find out? Yes, I did. It was there was a wall we had that would always get a hole in it and that even the precombines couldn't solve, so I just swapped it for another wall. Pretty sure that's what it was. So it was like, and I think I deleted it first instead of doing a Control F, and so then it changed the reference ID. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I didn't find out for certain. That's just like my assumption, because I remember doing that. I was really sick of seeing this hole that precombines would never, precombined visibility was never solving, so it just brute forced it. Chris Madkins, thank you and the team for the info. Sim Settlements was one of the reasons I made the switch to PC from PS4. Hands down one of the best mods on Nexus. Thank you for all that you do. I always feel bad for PS4 players who have to see the messages when they log into the game. And like, because in the upper, like right now in the upper right hand corner, if you log into Fallout 4, it says like the new expansion from Sim Settlements. You got to see that advertisement of all these things, and not even just us, but like now they do that for all kinds of mods that you guys can't play on PlayStation. It's like, oh, that sucks. It's like an advertisement for Xbox and PC, basically. Oh, I need to unlock the robot parts. Okay. Yagi, yeah, thank you for you. Yagi says I failed horribly at the Neil sequence. Thank you for putting in a fail state that lets the quest still continue. Yeah, we always had a fail state in there, but for quite a while the fail state, like that would let you continue, felt like you failed, and like so the testers kept reporting that they kept reloading. So then we dreamt up that the objective you get when you fail to make it feel like it was meant to happen. Like in fact, I've already seen some people comment like, "Oh, this was a scripted fail." It's not, but we made it. But that was the intention, to make it feel like a scripted fail if you do, so that way you don't feel like you have to solve the puzzle if you don't. So there's a reward if you do, but you don't have to, because it's pretty challenging. It's one of those ones where I think when you once you figure it out or someone tells you and then you look at the hints we left in the room, it's like, okay, I kind of see it, but it's a lot like one of those adventure game puzzles where you're like, where you know, some of you are going to be like, get the F out of here. That wasn't clear. So, you know, it's a matter of it's up for debate whether we gave enough hints or not. Start a new survival playthrough with all 3 chapters. No, not doing that again. Survival was driving me a little nuts. Lady Ring of Cloud. So some weapon mods do a scripted injection that you don't need to do any sort of based patch for, but other weapon mods edit the same illness and need to patch that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know why some would do. I don't know why they wouldn't do scripted injection. I agree, that doesn't make any sense. Now, what I was, I don't know if you're referring to what I was talking about earlier about other mods for the supply resources. We just need some sort of scripted check for what type of weapons are. I don't know how that was related to what I was talking about. But yeah, I agree. Doing scripted injection makes way more sense to me. But it's also, it's not, it wasn't, for some of the early weapon mods that came out, like that just wasn't easy to do. Like eventually somebody put out a modder's resource, like and it happened pretty quickly, like year 1 of Fallout 4 modding, but not everybody picked up on it. There was like a injection script to make it easier. Rick Adsley, you know, in Concord Workshop, Jacob's shop that has the armor stand, I was zoned out, and the cinematic AFK camera made it look like that thing was moving. All right, guys, I think I'm going to call it now. I can feel myself like drifting, and you guys think I ramble normally. Just wait till I get real tired. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. I hope I shared some useful information to help you guys get through some of the mechanics. We have so much more in store. We have more quest content for you coming. We have more. We have lots more mechanics, lots more mechanic overhauls, lots of bug fixes. Expect a hot fix from me every day or two for the next couple of weeks. And then we'll get back to the normal rhythm of like every 2 to 3 weeks. September, definitely taking a break. All of us on the dev team want to play Starfield real bad. And yeah, so keep your reports. If you guys have bugs, keep the reports coming on the forums. We have a lot of people that we trust to give good reports who will relay that to the dev team so that we can focus on stuff that's repeatable. And yeah, hopefully you guys all get to finish Chapter 3 over the next couple weeks before Starfield comes out, because I'm excited to hear what everyone's thoughts are on the wrap of the story. Sir Rick took an awful lot of time with it, and I hope he delivered something that was satisfying for y'all.